What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 388 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you as the PLL regular season has come to a close. We will put a bow on everything that went down in Boston and discuss the teams missing the playoffs, the teams missing Champ Series, the teams going to the playoffs, how they're going to the playoffs. And then we have someone we have been discussing getting on this show for a very, very long time. And what better way to do it than when there's no game action to have one of our true eye in the sky crown jewel interviews. And that is with the VP of lacrosse from the PLL, the WLL, a Princeton lacrosse legend. And that is Rachael DeCecco joining us on the pod. We just finished recording with Rachael a couple hours ago. She gave us an hour plus of her time, which is just far too kind. Really insightful stuff from Rachael throughout the interview. And I mean, there's nothing I love more than being able to chop it up with a fellow Philadelphia sports fan. And Rachel's just the best. And to kind of get a peek behind the curtain of the inner workings of the PLL operations and the front office of the PLL is always a treat and something we never take for granted. So definitely tune in with our interview with Rachael, because she's the absolute best, bro. Like what more can we say than just she's truly the absolute best? And we've known that for a long time since we've met Rachael, but like genuinely one of the best people we know.
Oh, by far. And she gave us an amazing time. And every time we're around her, it's smiles. Great time. Very appreciative of everything. And very grateful for where she is, what she gets to do, and enjoys and loves it to with everything and in her full magnitude. I think that says a lot. And then the way she praises the people around her and the game in general, I think is amazing. To be in the position she's in, she's going to help the game go a long way.
Yeah, she is a one of one. So definitely stay tuned for that. But before we get into everything on this here episode, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_next great. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. We will also have a mini announcement at the end of the show because we have a new teammate here at OTB. That was kind of boots on the ground from the stands out in Boston that we're very excited about. And is going to bring a lot of depth and a lot of just nuance and a new audience to this show that I don't think Deej and I ever realized we needed. But after I got to sit down with this fine specimen of a human, I was like, yeah, this is something we could, should, and will be utilizing to the fullest extent. So stick around for that. And we're very pumped about our new teammate here on OTB. You can follow me on Twitter as well, KBIZZL311. Forget if I said that or not, but if I did, disregard the second iteration of that. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast in audio form. I'm going to be so stunned, Deej. I can't wait to see like the weekly analytics of when we put this episode out to see the new subscribers after Rachel's on. Because like we got a new influx of subscribers when JB34 came on. We got a new influx of subscribers when Jackson Eicher came on. I'm thoroughly intrigued to see the influx of subscribers with Rachael DeCecco, because it's one of the big dogs of the PLL inner workings.
Yeah, I mean, she's just big in the lacrosse world. Like, for people who don't know how big she is, they're gonna get to that intro for her interview. They're gonna be like, "Oh, that's who she is." Yeah, bro, that's who she is.
She got a Jason Kelsey New Heights introduction type flow.
Oh yeah, dude. It's the rap sheet is long in the most positive way possible.
Yes. So definitely subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews because it does go a long way for helping this show continue to grow. Plus, it helps people get more eyes and ears on every single show we have here on the network. So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show of our original 6 on the network. Clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. We are at 1,093 subscribers, 7 away from our next 100 subscriber milestone. Let's get the subscribers going while we have a week off of PLL action. Leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, and click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. And once we get the OTB channel to 100 subscribers, Deej, Hoots, and our new teammate will be holding it down on the OTB College show starting in 2026. If we get to 100 subscribers, we are 60% of the way there, Deej. We are at 60 subscribers on the OTB channel. So 40 more people subscribe. You're going to be holding down the OTB College show with Hoots and our newest teammate, which will make you that show's unk. You did always say you wanted to be like me when you grow up.
I know, it's happening.
Look at my
so
boy.
fast.
Look at my boy.
It's happening way too fast, though. Like, it's only been 4 years since I started saying that.
It's a whole presidency.
Can I get a second term? Clearly not. It's ridiculous. I just want to be young.
It's incredible. That's incredible. I just thought of that as I was like breaking it. I was like, yeah. And not only that, you'll be talking about people that are even younger than Hoots.
Yeah.
That's why I can't be on the show. It's a kid's show. Kids show. It's the OTB College show. That's on Nick Jr.
I mean, I'm about to get kicked off of it real soon.
It's on Disney Channel.
I'm only so old.
We're gonna have to put yes, this video is made for kids on YouTube.
Are you sure? These guys look a little old.
Oh my god. You're gonna pop in, it's gonna be like Miss Rachel or Steve from Blue's Clues. Hello, kids. It's the OTB Clubhouse.
It's fun inside.
What do you mean by that?
Hey. Hey now.
Oh my god, we have way too much fun on this show.
I don't know who allows us to do this.
I mean, we bring it up in the interview with Rachel. By proxy, it's RJ Kaminsky.
True. Actually true. You were right.
Oh man.
If it wasn't for him,
who knows where I'd be? Probably in some sort of ditch.
That's kind of wild.
I mean, is it far off with all the car issues I've had in the past?
No. Absolutely not.
You know, did I ever tell you my mom always tells me, she's like, if I'm going somewhere far, she's like, just let me know when you get there. That way I know like the bear didn't get you. There's been instances where like she doesn't answer her phone and I'll leave her a voicemail, and I just do a bear voice.
Not a bear
I just
voice.
roar and growl into the phone.
Like, hey,
But
the bear got me.
I got one phone call, and the bear got me because you didn't answer. Oh, it's ridiculous. This show
That's actually
is
hilarious.
it's off the rails already. We're 11 minutes in. We haven't even talked about our awesome pals over at Rita's in Sewell. You guys can go visit our friends at Rita's. They just launched a new flavor, Deej, that I know I'm over the moon excited to go and try. I don't know if it's in your flavor realm, but I know Rita's does have flavors that you absolutely love. But because I don't know if you know, we're Rita's teammates with Kyle Schwarber now. Kyle Schwarber now a Rita's ambassador, but the newest flavor at Rita's, Schwarberry Ice.
Oh,
It's a
intrigued.
combo of strawberry, raspberry, blueberry. Looks absolutely divine. And I'm not even the biggest blueberry guy, but if you give me a nice little berry blend of anything, count me in. And the Schwarberry Ice looks absolutely impeccable. You can go grab that at 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey. You can also go to ritasice.com to check out all of their flavors and nutritional facts, and be on the lookout for that Schwarberry Ice. You can get it in gelati, you can get it in the Blendini, and a whole lot more. But go visit our friends at Rita's in Sewell at 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey. And we thank them for being a proud presenting partner of OTB. What's poppin', Deej? We've had ourselves quite a day today already. We're 12 minutes in, just ripped the first ad. We have an hour plus with Rachael DeCecco on the show. How we living?
Oh, I'm glad you dropped that that phrase right there because the Redwoods are not only in the playoffs, but they're also going to the Champ Series again. We living great, my guy. Oh, it's almost like I said this would happen in the beginning of the season. It's almost like I was only one game off of my prediction on how the Woods would be this year. It's almost like I said Chris Kavanaugh had a chance of winning Rookie of the Year. Oh my God. At the end of the season, the Redwoods are 5-5 instead of 6-4. The Redwoods are in the championship series, and Chris Kavanaugh is looking like one of the many projected. He is a projected Rookie of the Year finalist. It's almost like I know a little bit about ball or something.
Hey, you can't say that though. Remember, got to be
hey.
careful. You got to tread lightly.
I didn't say I did. I said maybe.
I was thinking about this the other day, and this is not on our prep sheet at all. But since you brought up Chris and the Rookie of the Year stuff, isn't it kind of crazy that like this year, even more so than last year, it feels like there is like a plethora of Rookie of the Year candidates from this rookie class. Like last year, yes, you had Brennan. You know, Shelley had a very awesome, rookie season. Obviously had some injuries that he dealt with, but for the most part, very productive. Obviously, TJ ends up winning, Rookie of the Year, but this year even more so than last year. And last year was dubbed the greatest draft ever, question mark. Like this year, it's like player after player contributing, and it's not even drafted rookies. Like our guy Jackson Iker, like could make a strong case, for getting some noise. Logan McNaney is obviously going to be in the mix. And then you obviously have, the Chris Kavanaugh, who was a second round pick. You have, so many guys from this rookie class that could end up being nominees and finalists. I do not envy at all the selection process committee for who has to narrow it down for the end of year award voters.
I can't imagine it's easy for anybody.
Like are we going to have
so
like
many,
6 finalists?
There's so many different storylines and like arguments for every, like, almost, like, just so many people. Ironically, there's a storyline for both Chris Kavanaugh and Andrew McAdory from the Redwoods. There's an argument for McNaney.
Mm-hmm.
There's an argument for
Owen Hiltz.
Owen Hiltz.
There's an argument for Aiden Carroll.
Arguably, if as a Whip Snakes fan, there's probably a few people that'll be trying to,
Like, I would listen to that argument. Like, he broke TJ's. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying, like, I'm just saying, even as just like a nominee, like a finalist, like, I'm not saying Aiden's going to win it per se, but like what Aiden did, being a chameleon and switching from midfield to attack, breaking TJ's single season goal scoring record by a Whip Snakes rookie 1 year after TJ sets it. I think there's an argument for Brendan Lavelle on a defensive side. You know, he was fantastic for the Archers on defense. I think that you can make an argument defensively for Levi Virch, who was phenomenal for Carolina this year. Dylan Hess at the short stick D midi spot for the Water Dogs. You know, there's so many guys as I'm going through just this list of, you know, I mean, Michael Grace, like, played in 8 games and became the 4th long pole in PLL history to have a 10-plus point season as a 3rd-round pick. Like, this draft class was spectacular. You had guys, and like we said, too, you know, Jackson Eicher wasn't even drafted and was a phenomenal rookie this year for Carolina. Like, just looking up and down, like, this draft class and the guys who contributed in so many ways this year, like, just looking at the 4th round of this year's draft is crazy. Jimmy Freehill, Jack Gray, Ben Ramsey, Carter Rice, Hugh Kelleher, all those guys contributed in 1 or more games for their team to go on and win games. You know, they were big pieces in a lot of ways. You look at the 3rd round, Scott Smith, once he got to Carolina, started to find his groove. I think he's going to be a big piece for them in the playoffs this year after he got traded from the Whip Snakes. Sam King as a 3rd-round pick for the Archers. You know, where are the Archers without Sam King this year? You know, with all the injuries they had, with the sluggish offense they had, he was such a bright spot for them. Emmett Carroll in the 3rd round for the Whips. Like, he turned their season around just as much, you know, as Logan McNaney, you know, contributed for the Outlaws. Like, not that Brendan Krebs was awful, but Stags recognized, hey, Krebsy's only saving around 48% right now. We need to do something to get better because every other goalie is saving above 48%. And Emmett Carroll answered the bell. Like we said, Michael Grace, Ben Weyer, you know, falling to 23 for the Water Dogs. Like, played every single game for them and contributed up and down the field. Christian Mazer, who no one wanted to take a flyer on because they didn't know his military exemption status. And Stags told me after the draft, yeah, we did our homework. He was a big reason that they ended up beating the Cannons this past weekend. You know, he goes out and does the dirty work for them and has really developed into a legit short stick D midi for the future of that team. And then, I mean, the 1st and 2nd round speak for themselves. Jake Taylor, Chris Kavanaugh, Logan McNaney, Mick Kelly, Levi Virch, Max Krebsky, Dylan Hess, Jack McDonald. Like, the fact that we're talking about all these guys and we haven't even brought him up, obviously, because he was injured for half the season. But, like, CJ Kurse was the number 1 pick in this draft. And all of these other rookies that we've talked about contributed in such meaningful ways that, like, I think we're going to look back on this draft class even more so than 2024 and being like, damn, if you hit on your draft picks in 2025, you set your franchise up for long-term success.
I don't think it's going to be like, I actually think the last 2 groups together, maybe even the last 3. Yeah. The last 3 to 4 are going to get grouped together. Like 2022 to 25. is just gonna it's always gonna remind us that COVID happened, because these draft classes wouldn't quite be what they are if COVID didn't happen, because certain guys stayed longer than others and things of that scenario. These are going to be COVID reminder draft classes for the rest of our life, and I love that, because we're never seeing draft classes like this again in our lives. Never.
Especially the last two.
Yeah, like, it's unreal, the guys that have been, in these draft classes. And I mean, you can even look at some of the players that didn't get drafted and weren't signed as free agents that are still like very good at lacrosse. So, dude, this year's, I don't envy anyone that has to try and wiggle down that race. But this year was definitely a solid year, where I feel like every coach / GM correctly addressed the issues their team had. That doesn't always happen in drafts. As a Green Bay Packers fan, that doesn't always happen in drafts. As a Detroit Pistons fan, that doesn't always happen in drafts. But it happened with all 8 teams in the PLL this year. I think they all did a phenomenal job of drafting what they needed. Some people hit the injury bug. Some people's, motion just never really got going on the field. But everybody got all the correct pieces in draft and free agency. And I think
with the picks that they were allotted too. Like, not every team had X amount of pick. Like, you saw the Cannons had 3 picks this year, and they hit on every single pick.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of what created the true parity in the league, is these teams were so even across the board. There isn't really a team on paper that's so much better than the next. And I think that is why you see, as I'm getting to the standings, fantastic podcasting here, the difference between the best team in the league and the last team in the league is 7-3. And there's 2 teams that are there. There are 4 teams that are 4-6 and 2 teams that are 5-5. Anybody could be beat on any given night. And what was done in the offseason in terms of free agency and draft is a big part of that reason why.
Yeah. Which, I mean, let's get right into the wrap up now. It's brought to you by our friends over at Buff. Guys, there's no better way to protect yourself from the elements than with our friends at Buff. From their collections for hiking to just a walk in your neighborhood to biking, Buff is the one-stop shop to protect yourself in the outdoors. They've got the CoolNet UV collection, which is just perfect to protect you from the sun. They've got everything you can need, from fishing, hiking, running, cycling, your everyday headwear, plus the ever so amazing Survivor collection. 90% of all their manufacturing happens in-house in Barcelona, and their facilities are 100% renewable energy, and they achieved carbon neutrality in 2023 in all of their direct operations. Buff is truly the best, and you guys can shop with Buff by using our link in the description and check out all of the collections that they have, including, like I mentioned, Survivor, the National Parks collection, the Surf Rider collection, and more. And we thank Buff for being a proud partner of OTB. Deej, Boston was quite a something this past weekend, as 2 teams' postseason hopes came to a halt. 2 teams' championship series hopes came to a halt. We had the highest combined scoring PLL game in the history of the league. And I mean, it was another PLL weekend for the books down there at Harvard Yard in Boston. The playoffs are set. We'll get to those, but the California Redwoods take down the Boston Cannons 18-17 in just a high-octane, high-energy game. The Utah Archers end their season on a high note with an 11-10 win over the Carolina Chaos. The New York Atlas survive the highest combined scoring game in PLL history, 20-19 against the Water Dogs, and the Maryland Whipsnakes send the Boston Cannons home with no postseason for the first time under Brian Holman, 15-8 to punch their ticket to the playoffs. I mean, Deej, we'll start with Redwoods Cannon, which I think was just a tone setter of a game for what we ended up getting this weekend. Just back and forth, high energy, contributions from damn near everyone on both teams. And the Redwoods, like, this was not an easy win for them. They had to overcome an early 6-4 deficit in that first quarter. They had to overcome letting the king of the two-point arc, Marcus Holman, launch another two-bomb. And from there on out, you know, the Cannons made that late game surge in the fourth quarter. But the Redwoods did enough in the middle quarters to survive and win 18-17, as Chris Kavanaugh had another miraculously amazing game, 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists. TD went 21 of 35 at the stripe. Chase Ireland made the save of his career. And the California Redwoods are going to the postseason.
That game. I was more than on the edge of my seat. Blood pressure through the roof. Literally was sweating bullets. You should have seen me during the last play of the game. When he goes for the overhead check and Campbell just walks by, I was like, oh my God. We're going to overtime and we're going to lose. That was my immediate first thought. And then all of a sudden I went, holy fucking shit, Chase Ireland, you dirty dog. One of the best saves of the year. You can call it what you want. Obviously, it's not the craziest save. Nice, clean save at the end of a game to clinch a playoff spot. One of the best of the season. Period. Obviously, we had the Dylan Malloy goal on the opposite side, left-handed for the win. Insanity. The back and forthness of this game. When is the last time? I gotta stop saying stuff. Because I said last week that this game could be like 18-17. Well, I'm just glad we were on the right side of it. Because, boy, when it started creeping up, I was like, oh my God, this is really a high-scoring game. Here we go.
The only funnier thing you could have said was, like, this game could have been like 6-7, and then they would have made a TikTok edit out of you.
I mean, my phone number is perfect for a 6-7 TikTok edit. Just say it.
Don't dox yourself.
I'm not gonna do it now, but if any of the ladies want to find out, they can.
This
they can
guy.
hit the DMs.
Here we go.
Hey, I'm just saying. But yeah, this was a game I was up and down for. The energy was amazing for me at home, so I can only imagine what it was like at Harvard. And it was just, as a Redwoods fan, whether win or loss, I felt good going into the game because I was like, hey, we have a second opportunity to get in. Right? Like, okay, we lose our game. If Chaos wins, we're in. Or if the Archers win by 1, like they did, we would be in. So I wasn't too concerned. But to get the win, it felt fantastic. That game absolutely had me in all kinds of emotions, from elated to absolute shambles. Now it's time to just take this week off so I can buckle up and do the same thing again next week.
I mean, it's just an incredible game overall, and this game in particular, like, just showcased what we have been talking about for weeks now. I forget when I brought it up, but I said, hey, I don't think we're talking enough about how the Boston Cannons are like not this juggernaut team that they've been in the past. And it's not because their offense is lacking. It's because their defense is it needs, it needs the commercial with where the guy slaps the thing on the fucking leaking tube. Like their
Flex
defense,
tape?
yeah. That's what the Cannons defense needed this year. They had no flex tape. And this game showcased that. Like their defense was not great. They left Kirsty on an island again. And I know Colin will say, like, yeah, I have to be better, but also like Bryce Young and Garrett Epple have to be better. The rest of that defense needs to step up for him when you know that you're gonna be in a barn burner type of game. Because if the defense steps up and doesn't miss one or two assignments, we're talking about a completely different game. And it's just like I know they made the coaching change. I know Brian told us, he's asked a lot more of the defense this year because of that. I don't know if it's one of those things that like maybe next year we see the fruits of the labor of this defensive scheme change, but it was a rough go for the Cannons defense in this game and a rough go for a majority of the season for a defense that is so veteran laden.
Yeah, it was interesting to see it play out that way. But messing with scheme and adding new players to things can always, throw a monkey wrench in it, and that's kind of what you saw with their defense this year. I do think they'll bounce back in some way. I don't think we'll see the same iteration of defense that we saw this year. They're too good of players, and they have too many good lacrosse minds in their organization in general for that to continue. It just sucks to miss out on the playoffs at home, and to have that such a sweet opportunity to like clinch things in front of your home fans and celebrate in a crazy way. It sucks that their season caught up to them the way it did.
Mm-hmm. Which we will talk about their season as a whole after we break down the last game. But I mean, again, another positive for this Redwoods team is they're clicking at the right time. We've seen teams peak too early, which I think we can go as far back as the 2021 Water Dogs, where they were the best team in the league, and then the playoffs rolled around and they didn't have anything left. And we've seen it time and time again with the New York Atlas. We've seen it with the Boston Cannons, where the playoffs roll around and it's a different beast in the PLL playoffs. I think the Redwoods are hitting their stride at the right time. They're playing team lacrosse right now. Chris Cav is leading the way for them. Dylan Malloy is right there with him and has been phenomenal, especially over the last 3 weeks. I would say like Dylan's like not only scoring prowess has been on display, Dylan's accuracy the last 3 weeks has been off the charts. I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at this, Deej, but over the last 3 games that Dylan Malloy has played in this year, his shooting percentage went from, in that Archers game, 20%, and this is coming off that Atlas game where he shot a season low 9.1% on 11 shots against the New York Atlas, where he only scored 1 goal. Then the final 3 weeks of the season, he kind of gets back to the median of where he's been all year, 20% on 10 shots, scores 2 goals. But then the Whipsnakes game, scores 5 goals on 8 shots for a 62.5 shooting percentage. The Cannons game, 4 goals, 5 shots, 80% shooting to bring his season shooting percentage a tick under 30% for the year. I don't know if Dylan went and got LASIK after the Atlas game, or just like the I asked Anthony Kelly, I was like, is he ever going to take those cleats off? Because I think they might be magic. Dylan, the past 2 weeks, his act, like that's been the impressive thing. Like we know Dylan Malloy is a scorer. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. He can find the back of the net. It's the accuracy uptick that, week 1 against the Outlaws, he shot 37.5%, and everyone was like, holy shit, Dylan Malloy is back. Like, this is vintage Dylan Malloy. And then he ticked down to 27.3, which is nothing to scoff at. He still had 5 points, scored a 2-pointer. and then, was in the 22.2% for a majority of the middle of the season, had a 28.6% shooting game against the Outlaws again, in Baltimore. Right? No, that was California weekend. I'm sorry. But then like 22.2, 22.2, 9.1, 20, and then 62.5, 80. That's been the impressive thing to me, is not only is he scoring, he's shooting at a more accurate clip. And when Dylan Malloy is scoring that accurately, he's one of the best shooters in the league.
I mean, if not the best shooter in the league, honestly. Like, and a part of that is his ability to create his own shot and get to his spot by himself. Like, a lot of the other really good shooters in the league are really like more spot up shooters, like more, catch and shoot or make a very quick move and shoot. Like, Dylan Malloy grinds you down for 8 seconds and then step back and pop one, and you're just like, dog, what? But like, that's what he does. He gets to his spot methodically, and then he sets up, has enough time to let one off, and before you know it, it's in the net and he's celebrating. Dude, it's just unreal. I think it's just, some like Mike shit though. The last couple weeks, like new kicks, new guy. Like, Dylan Malloy is balling, and I personally have been thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. And, we talked about we'll have our OTB end of year awards, very separate and not same category as the actual end of year awards. Dylan Malloy is right at the top of that Resurgent Player of the Year award finalist standings.
He's looking good.
He's looking real good. The Utah Archers, two-time defending champions, eliminated from the postseason due to the California Redwoods win. First time in PLL history, we will not have a defending champion granted the ability to defend their title. Not only because they're not in the championship, but because they are not in the playoffs. But they do finish their season on a high note with an 11-10 win over the Carolina Chaos. And even though it was low scoring, like, it was a very entertaining game, and it was back and forth. It was a grind for the Archers to win. Mac O'Keefe finally looked like Mac O'Keefe for like the first time this year. Unfortunately, it was in the final game of the year. Jackson Eicher just continued his OTB bump with 4 points, leading the team with a hat trick and an assist. They brought it up on the broadcast too, and I think it's so valid. This offense for Carolina completely changes in a positive way with a healthy Shane Knobloch. Like, yes, Carolina lost this game, but when you have a guy coming out of the midfield who can contribute the same amount of points in the same exact way that Jackson Eicher did from the attack spot, like, Knobloch, he's a former top 4 pick just last year. It's been a tumultuous season with just the injuries he's had to go through. But you're getting him back as close to perfectly healthy as possible going into the playoffs. It just adds another element to their offense to make Carolina that much more potent as this offense just collectively starts to come together the way we've seen them do over the past 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think the you could see it instantly, like when he came back. Like, he scored a couple times in his first game back, had a couple points, and just his ability to create and be another option for them was very apparent. And then you saw it last week in that game with the Archer against the Archers, pushing the issue, initiating, creating shots for himself and others. He's not necessarily another rung in the ladder, but like that special rung. You know how like there's like those like carpenter ladders, and then there's like that rung in the middle that has like the ledge on it. That's like what Shane Knobloch is. Like, he's a ledge in this carpenter ladder that gives you more tools to use now at that point. Like, he takes their offense from this level to this level just from being there. And I'm excited to see him work in the playoffs and what he's going to be for this team moving forward. But like you said, they're really just now starting to really see what works for them on the offensive end.
And just based off of the Chaos signing Cole Williams from the player pool, it seems like JJ Solstrop is going to be out for at least Minnesota weekend. So we'll see how that kind of develops. Hopefully JJ recovers and is healthy and good to go. But on the flip side, obviously we're very excited for Cole. He's one of our guys to get an opportunity to potentially be on a playoff, roster, game day roster is exciting for him. And I know just how hard he works. So definitely something to watch. And it's a new wrinkle potentially for this Chaos offense if they want to implement it, and, kind of have some bigger size in that midfield. It's definitely something to pay attention to. But I mean, a tough season for the Utah Archers comes to a close. On a bright spot, we finally got to witness Pat Resch and Tony Resch on the same team in the PLL, which was awesome. I don't have, I think, the overwhelming concerns, and Ryan Ambler said it in the post-game press conference. He said, we'll be back. Like, we're not done. This group is not done. I agree with him. Will they have to make a couple of difficult decisions potentially this offseason to make sure that this team is that finely tuned machine for years to come? More than likely, but that's almost every team in the PLL. I think this was one of those weird years, for a team. We saw it with the Water Dogs last year. The injuries coupled with just the offense could never really get going. And I think in the early part of the season, you could tell how much they missed Trey Leclerc, and then Trey just trying to work himself back in from, recovering from his surgery. It just never got going. But you look at this roster, you look at the defense, you look at Brett Dobson being, arguably the best goalie, however you want to make that argument. He's 1A, to a lot of people. There's Blaze and there's Brett Dobson. That's the goalie war, for the next however many years that you want to talk about the GOAT. But the Archers will be back. I think they have one of the best head coaches in the league. They have one of the best GMs in the league. It's the same guy, newsflash. And I think they have one of the best coaching staffs in the league with Cav and with Tony Resch. Like, this team has the infrastructure to be set up for years to come. I'm not overly concerned like a lot of people with the Archers and what they can be next year and years after. Plus, you're getting the number one pick added to this team. Like, we did that song and dance all last offseason. Like, the Water Dogs are getting the number one pick added to Michael Sowers, Kieran McCardle, and obviously we knew it was CJ Kurse that was gonna be the guy. But it's a similar thing where it's like the rich are gonna get richer after having their house robbed. And I think the biggest issue for the Archers, and Batesy brought it up at the draft, was when you win championships, your depth gets pillaged. And I think that was a huge issue for them this year, is that as compared to 2023 when they won their first title and 2024 when they repeat, they didn't have enough depth and enough healthy depth to sustain some of the issues that they had offensively. And it just piled up as the year went on. I think they'll address that this offseason. They'll make the necessary adjustments. And we'll be talking about the Utah Archers being one of the best teams in the Western Conference again next year.
Yeah, I mean, this is, in my opinion, one of those one-off fluke years with the team. It reminds me a lot of like a football team where the quarterback gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then that team does bad for the year. Like, everybody's like, oh, like, what's going to happen here? Quarterback's going to come back healthy, and then they're going to be back in the playoffs like they have been every other year that quarterback was playing. Like, that's very similar, like, what I see happening with the Archers. Like, they ran into three of their biggest players offensively between Matt Moore, Grant Ament, and Tom Schreiber getting injured at different times of the year and affecting their lineup differently, along with Matt O'Keefe and Connor Fields not having the seasons that they have had in the past. Kind of all season long, so they had no real chance to.
And they were without Trey, like we said, like who is a big part of their offense.
Without Trey until what, game 6, 7?
So I think he came back Fairfield.
Yes, that was game
6.
I mean, you miss a very, I don't want to say a very fruitful piece for you for half the season. And then obviously he's going to take a game or two, which don't get me wrong, the guy came off off the injured reserve and popped off, but like realistically, he's still not playing at like the level that everybody else on the field has been playing because he hasn't been playing game speed for 5 weeks like they have been. So it was just kind of compiling issues that they were able to, I mean, realistically fight through. We want to be honest here. Their offense scores 2 to 3 more goals a game. They're have a better record and are in the playoffs. Or B, they just have a better score differential, which possibly gets them in the playoff with the record that they have. So it's those kind of things, you know.
And on top of that, like, not to cut it, but on top of that, like, we haven't even brought up the fact that Sis gets injured, did not look like himself due to the existing injury. And then they were practically without the face-off position the entire year to get that offense, the possessions that they need to build those early leads that we've seen them do year in and year out ever since Sis came into the league.
Yeah, I mean, there was just issue after issue. There wasn't really any one thing you could point at. And they still kind of made the most out of this season and had a very good chance to find themselves in the playoffs again, fighting to repeat for a third time. Well, repeat for a second time and win a third championship in a row.
I think the term is three-peat.
Yes. But you only repeat twice.
Exactly, kids. Context. Kid show.
Not to the kids.
Carolina, we knew they were in the playoffs after all the happenings. They get into the Champ Series for the first time. This is awesome to me. You know, a team gets to accomplish a goal that in franchise history they had never done before. Brand new head coach, one of the first teams with a head coach GM split, a young team, a fresh roster across the board outside of your cornerstone defensive pieces for the most part. And for them to accomplish goals that Roy Colsey and Spencer Ford laid out in their introductory press conference in February at Champ Series is really awesome to kind of see it come to fruition as quickly as it has. And I'm pumped to see them in Champ Series with the guys that are on this roster. I know a few of them will probably get drafted into the NLL and not be able to play, but you know, if Jackson Eicher is available to play, you know, with his military obligations, we'll see. He's going to be electric in Champ Series. You got guys like JJ Silstrop who could end up playing. You have, you know, Cole Williams now on the roster, who we've seen play in Champ Series and be very successful. You know, there's guys on this team that have me very excited that can make a lot of, you know, Cross Ferrara. You have Aslanian, who has a bunch of Champ Series experience. Garrett Degnan is another name who we necessarily didn't see a lot of this regular season, but could make some noise. Same with, you know, Perk, you know, will be available, and we've seen him have a lot of success in Champ Series. So there's a lot of names that this Chaos team is going to be very fun in Champ Series. I'm excited that they're going to finally get a chance to compete, and Austin Kaut is going to be out of his fucking mind playing goalie in Champ Series, and I'm pumped to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, they're a lot like the Redwoods, where not a lot of these guys are playing NLL at the moment. So their roster for Champ Series is going to look very similar to their roster in the regular season, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Because in any time, God forbid, an injury happens to any of these players, there's a chance that they're not playing the regular season next year, depending on what the injury is. But I'm really excited to see both those teams, which it's ironic that both teams in the first year that they have a coach and GM make Champ Series. But yeah, I'm excited to see both of those teams go to battle, you know, in the Champ Series with what will be very fun rosters when you look at the capabilities all of the players have.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw this out here now, especially with TD playing in the NLL. I don't think the Redwoods dress a face-off guy.
I don't know if
I think they throw Andy Mack out there to take him, and then he just plays.
because there's really only 4 face-offs that get taken, so it's like there's no real reason to bring a traditional face-off guy, and like Carolina won't have one, New York won't have one. Like the only guy that doesn't play NLL, and I would like to see him play NLL to just continue honing his craft, is Luke Weirman. So like, I don't know if you use the roster spot on that for any of these teams, honestly.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see who does and like who has that face-off experience. And like, I think the cool thing with the Redwoods is they're probably going to run Tev too, who also has face-off experience. So
now, what I would like to see is Jared Newman with a short stick.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just manifesting.
It
would be fun to see. It would be fun to see.
I'd be down for it.
As the kids say, I would like to see it.
Especially with that 13-yard arc.
Night. That'd be so fun.
It's going to be like him, Dylan Malloy, and Romar just trying to see who can hit the most twos.
That's the platinum stick.
Man. I'd be down for a platinum stick, given to the guy that just like hits the most twos and
that'd be so sick.
I'd be down for that.
And then you got to do
we should loft that somewhere. Not like we didn't, just loft it right there. I mean, especially with the guests we have on this week, I'm sure we just lofted that.
Not like we've seen other ideas come to life that have been lofted on this show.
You know,
a la the Miami Vice pink chrome jersey that I own. Thank you, Liam. But yeah, shout out to the Archers. Shout out to the Chaos. The Archers will be back, and Chaos are in Champ Series. The Water Dogs and Atlas make a little history. Highest combined scoring game in PLL history. Listen, from my wanting Philadelphia teams to succeed standpoint, I'm happy the Water Dogs are in the playoffs. Like, I think it's good for the league when the Water Dogs are good. First expansion team, you know, you get the Barstool backing with Part of My Take and everything. You have a major, you know, traditional market to put on display in the playoffs. My concern is that this team started 4-2, and they're going into the postseason on a 4-game losing streak and finish the year 4-6, and have not won a game since Chicago, which by the time they play this next game in Minnesota will be over a month since they've won a game together. That's concerning to me. But what I will take away from this game, outside of Stathicus got worked by Trevor Baptiste, which was brutal, but I also love what Jerry was pointing out on Twitter about the way Trevor was approaching the cadence in the game and adjusted, where Stath really didn't have experience adjusting to that, in my opinion. And Dylan Ward was less than ideal in this game, for sure, in a lot of ways. What I will say that I take away from a Water Dogs perspective, CJ Curse looks healthy as hell. He looks great. Kieran looks phenomenal. Shout out to all the Kieran McCardle haters. Connor Kelly is looking confident. Get him touches. I know Bill Tierney hates to hear the word touches coming, but get Connor Kelly opportunities and he will perform for you. And DJ, I know you're going to love this. For as long as the Water Dogs are in the playoffs, Mikey Schlosser should not be out of the lineup.
I agree.
Because holy shit, was he a game changer? Why? I know there's probably other, you know, things that we may not know, but if there was ever any reason that he should not be in the lineup and he just was like, he was awesome in this game.
What was that, 2022 that we ran into him downtown?
Yeah, because he wasn't injured yet then. Because he
That
got
energy
injured.
right there is why he should be playing all the time.
Dude, he played in 2 games this year. Wasn't great in them because he didn't really get a chance to get going. And didn't score a single point this season until this Atlas game. He was awesome. And you like his speed, like for a guy who has had a major leg injury and complications coming back from that leg injury, his speed looked unbelievable in this game coming out of the midfield. And if he's healthy, he needs to be in the lineup. And on top of that, we talked about it in our group chat. Goddamn, is Jimmy Freehill a fucking menace? That dude, for a 4th round draft pick, has been unbelievable. And I'm so happy. Not that I was wrong about Jimmy, but I just didn't know what to expect because I was like, is this just Bill doing a favor to one of his guys to draft him, you know, a 4th round pick? Like, they're so deep on defense already. Jimmy Freehill is the fucking truth. And that guy, he is a human spark plug. The last couple of games when he's launched those 2s late in the game, I'm like, Bill, look at what he does. Look at this. Look what Connor Kelly does. Look what Ben Wayer does. Use those guys' ability to launch from range. And I've been so impressed with Jimmy Freehill. And that's not even talking about what he does defensively. Because ever since he stepped in to playing close D, amazing. What a rookie season for a 4th round pick.
Maybe he listens to us, and that's why he's been shooting more too.
He does follow the pod now.
Because you just complain about the 2-point difference.
Hey,
for the Water Dogs. So maybe he's just like, hold on, let me do something about
if Jimmy is lobbing me a favor by, because they said it on the broadcast too. Bill Tierney was like telling him to like slow the pace, and Jimmy just like shook him off and launched the 2. And I was like, fuck yeah, Jimmy, do your thing, man. And I also tweeted that wasn't Jimmy Freehill that launched that 2. That was James Freehill. That was the man in the arena.
I'm screaming, not James.
That was Big James.
He's been amazing. Him and Marcus Hudgens have been huge for this defense, kind of in a rotational, standpoint. Sometimes they're playing down low, sometimes they're playing up on the wing. But either way, they've been huge in being kind of that third pole / second LSM and just fitting that mold of what's needed for the team on the defensive end that day. And then being able to handle the ball and push transition. It's helped the struggling piece of the transition game for the Water Dogs last year. Their transition game last year was very, very bad.
And it's still not great this year, but it's been improved.
But it's better. Mm-hmm. That's exactly where I was going with that.
And on top of that, like, you got scoring contributions from a plethora of guys. That's what you need if you're going to win in this league, is not just 3 or 4 guys scoring for you and then the rest of your offense going MIA. CJ Kurse had 6 points in this game, but Kieran had 5. Connor Kelly had 4 points. Michael Sowers had 3 points. Jack Hanna had 2 goals. Schlosser had 2 goals. Jimmy Freehill had his 2-pointer. Thomas McConvey had a goal. Zach Currier had an assist. Dylan Hess had an assist. So, like, and what I take away from it, too, is every person that scored a goal, no matter if it was a 1 or a 2, the lowest shooting percentage of the guys that recorded a goal was 33.3%. So not only were you scoring, you were efficient in your scoring and in your shots, and that's a positive sign for the offense. But if you want to win in this league and you want to win in the postseason, transition offense has to be there. And it's been a good sign seeing Connor Kelly, Ben Wayer, and Jimmy Freehill in particular be guys to take initiative and launch 2s and bring momentum back when the Water Dogs have found themselves behind. But also special teams win. And we saw that in this game, and that's why the Atlas won, in my opinion. Trevor Baptiste goes 71% at the stripe, 26 of 36, 18 ground balls, 3 points in transition. Liam Entenmann didn't have his best game, but he was good enough. Probably his worst game of the season and potentially of his career. Only saved 39.3%. But then, Connor Schellenberger does his thing. Jeff Teat does his thing. Costabile launches from 2. And again, when I made my fantasy lineup this week, I was like, I'm putting Brian Costabile in my lineup because the Water Dogs have no idea how to stop him from 2. And there we go. Launches another 2. I didn't understand, and maybe you understand it more because of you playing defense and being a coach. I did not understand the Water Dogs' approach to defending Xander Dixon in this game, or lack thereof. Like, they were just letting him freely go and just casually put up a hat trick, shot 50%. Like, I know you're not going to, you have to try to contain Xander. They didn't even try to contain him. Like, it was just a Tupperware container with no lid.
You asking me if I know?
You know better than me from a.
I know, because I was going to ask you the same question. Why they ain't want to stop the man?
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I can't.
Between him and Reed Bowering, I was like, what are we doing?
Dude, Reed had a good game.
Dude, you want to talk about research and player of the year?
Reed
may win the Canadian division of that one.
But there also was like no defense played in this game. So,
literally none.
Like anybody could have had a good day. I damn near could have walked out there and scored a couple times.
This was full field 6s.
Yes. 10v10.
This was 10s.
Because they was just pulling it out the net and scoring on the other end. I swear.
This was street lacrosse with pads.
Basically, dog. Basically.
We had tricks and twists and everything from these boys out there, and no defense.
0. Couple good saves here and there.
And I mean, it was barely any of them made.
Man.
What was it combined? Let's see. It was combined 21 saves.
Sheesh.
That's crazy. But hey, the Water Dogs did enough to get into the playoffs. They lost by less than 2, and that punched their ticket to the postseason. A weird way to get into the playoffs. The Atlas clinched the number 1 seed, so they await the winner of the Water Dogs and the next team that we'll talk about in Philadelphia. Now, I, as somebody who think playoffs, like, it's like get in and then it's just like momentum. I feel like if you're a member of this Water Dogs team, you have all the motivation in the world to go out and win in the quarterfinals, because then you punch your ticket to a home playoff game. Like, that in and of itself should be like, yo, let's go out and ball. Let's go out and make some noise. That way, when we go to the semifinals, playing against a team that dummied us twice this year, once in Baltimore, and then we go blow for blow in the highest combined scoring game in PLL history to close out the season, you get to play in front of your home fans at a place you've already won a championship at before, and you know what it gets like when you play at Subaru Park. That in and of itself should be a shit ton of motivation for the Water Dogs going into the quarterfinals, is knowing that you win, you get to go play at home for a chance to go and play for a championship not that far away from home.
I mean, yeah, that has to be a huge motivation, right? Like, I mean, it gives you a chance to play basically 2 back-to-back home games to win a championship. Like, you got to be leaning into that. The only thing is you got an uphill battle.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is this should just be a little extra, a little extra gas in the tank, and just an extra thought kind of in the back of the head. Like, hey, let's win this first one in many so we can get back to where we belong. Um, so it's interesting to see how it plays out, but like I said, it's an uphill battle for them.
Yeah. New York goes into the long bye weeks that they have. Obviously, they're off this week with the league bye. They're off next week for being the number 1 seed. How do you see this affecting them as opposed to what we know about Denver and how long it's going to be until they play again? Just a one less week for New York, but still a pretty long and lengthy layoff.
Um, I think it fares well for. I think it fares better for Atlas than it does for Outlaws, because whoever the Outlaws are running into, they're running into a hot team. No matter who wins that quarterfinal in the West, that's a team that's rolling, clicking, and is ready for anybody to step in front of them. Atlas, depending on who comes out of that, they kind of have their blueprints on how to beat both teams. Not that the Outlaws don't, but they have the one less week, and you're kind of going against two teams that have played well, but have also struggled in the recent weeks too, versus two teams that have been playing well the last couple of weeks and feel like they're one of the best teams in the league.
And I was going to say, on top of that, the Outlaws this year in particular don't have the blueprint to beat the Chaos.
True, not yet, but I also feel like they do, because like neither one of those games was like blowout. Like, oh, we just absolutely throttled out the Outlaws. It just more was like they have Blaze in net, and he made a couple key saves in the fourth quarter that they were able to extend a lead a couple times and keep themselves safe. So now the blueprints are there for the Outlaws, but it's more of just running into a hot team at the wrong time.
Yeah. And I mean, the first game that Denver played against them was the first game of Carolina's homecoming weekend, so you had the juice of that behind them and everything. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting in the East. I think the East is like the West is gonna be fireworks. The East is going to be a fucking slog through the mud to get to the championship. Like, it's 3 teams that are in the most toxic triangle of sports fandom known to man, that literally are going to have to grind and claw and battle tooth and nail against each other to get to the championship, and then have to go up against whoever makes it out of the West. That's going to be absolute fireworks, inevitably, to attempt to win a championship. I think it's 2 different sides of this playoff bracket that are going to provide 2 very different styles of lacrosse, and that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I think it's been that way all year, really. I think the East and West provided 2 very different outlooks of lacrosse based on if you look at their conference games against each other and how they play against each other and the interactions their fan bases and such have. We've gotten that all season. It's just going to be at a heightened level in the playoffs, which is the best part about the playoffs. Everything's at a heightened level.
Yeah, and then Saturday Night Lacrosse, the Maryland Whipsnakes, they are inevitable. They are Thanos. That's what we say every single year. You can't sleep on Stags. And they punched their ticket to the postseason. Jim Stagnita has never missed the playoffs as head coach of the Maryland Whipsnakes. 7 straight years. They win 15-8 over the Boston Cannons. First time in the Brian Holman era that the Cannons missed the postseason. They will pick number 2. And not only do we have the 2-time defending PLL champions not in the postseason, we will not have the 2-time defending championship series champions in the championship series, as the Cannons will not qualify for that. This game to me was just a tale of 2 halves, and the Cannons just looked like they were absolutely gassed after the back and forth slugfest it was with the Redwoods on Friday, and then having to keep pace with the Whip Snakes in that first half, they left everything out on the field, but in that second half, they just had nothing left to give.
Yeah, I mean, but that's been every team in their second, home game this year.
Except for the Whip Snakes.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know.
That's when they put up that 20 piece on Carolina, and we were like,
yeah.
"Oh, is Carolina cooked?"
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to play 2 games in a day, and what really sucked for Boston is that they lost the previous game before, which meant they had to win this next game. So you could see they came out with that energy, like, all right, I think their plan was to try and get ahead in the first half. Go really hard for the first 2.5 quarters and then try and coast to a victory. That just wasn't the case. And then they ran out of time. Which really sucks.
And energy.
But it kind of, but that kind of spells out their season. That's kind of how their season was. And it was so weird to see.
And it's one of those things that, like, you can't really coast when you're going up against Joe Nartella. And not that you can coast against a TD either, but knowing that you have to win, it's one of those things that, like, you have to be on your P's and Q's in every aspect of the game. And Joe Nartella just worked Zach Tucci at the stripe. Absolutely worked him. Joe went 16 of 26. Tucci went 9 of 22. Emmett Carroll was spectacular, 60% on the save percentage. Matt Brandow, I mean, you want to talk about resurgent player of the year? He's one of them for sure. And I mean, the Cannons, I think their biggest question is the face-off stripe and defense. It's figuring out whether it's scheme, is it personnel, is it a combination of the two? Do we need to get younger at defense for this scheme to work? Zach Tucci, go hit up Joe Nartella and work at that face-off factory. Go try to sign with an NLL team this offseason and, try to, perfect your craft, hone your craft. You've seen what it's done for guys to get better or revive their careers. I would like to see Zach Tucci go play. I think he has the physicality for it as well. We'll see, what happens there. But I think those are the two biggest needs for the Cannons to improve and get back to where they know they need to be. They have the talent on offense, from Marcus to Coulter Mackesy now. Obviously, Asher Nolting. Will Manny proved he can still be a formidable force offensively in this league. Ryan Drenner had a phenomenal year this year. They have the offensive pieces. I think they have the pieces with their rope unit too. It's that close D that I think they really need to just there's going to be some tough decisions, I think, this offseason for the Cannons on defense, and they're going to have to figure a lot out there, and then they're going to have to figure out what they want to do with the stripe to ensure that they get that high potent offense, the possessions that they need so that they can go ahead and can inevitably coast to a victory if they need to. But I think that's why they paid Brian Holman the big bucks, and he's going to have a lot of, decisions to make this offseason to really retool this Cannons team.
I don't know what the answer is. Because like I said earlier, I don't really think the close D is really that far off. I just think they had an off year.
I think it was the scheme more and getting adjusted to the scheme more than anything.
And I think part of it is Jack Kilty had to find himself again. It took quite a bit of time for him to get back to an old self. Which when you
understandably
as someone who's played defense, it's one of those things that's like attack where you get used to who you're playing with. And also you overcompensate when a guy's hurt. Or a guy isn't having a great day. You start to do a little extra to fill in the blanks because you know that they're not who they normally are. And that's kind of what you saw with the Cannons close D. Is they knew that Jack wasn't still Jack. there was some overcompensating in certain areas, and it cost them in a lot of games.
Yeah. As we're recording this too, I just want to send our best from our entire crew to Will Manny and his wife. He posted on his Instagram. I'm not gonna really get into the details of it. If you want to see it, you can go check Will's Instagram and truly like send him his best and his wife her best as well. A very like obviously you guys know Deej and I are not parents, but to see somebody like Will that you and I have been around for as long as we have and know the type of person he is and how well he's treated us, just in press conferences alone, like he's an incredible person, and knowing what he was going through leading into this season and then throughout this entire year, it I don't even know how to put it into words how like soul crushing it was to see Will's post. Um, he's genuinely one of the strongest people I know. Like to go through all of that and then to show up the way that he did whenever he was active on game day and perform the way he did, just a fucking beast of a human. And I just want Will and his wife and their families to know that like we're sending them all the love possible, because I can't even imagine, going through what Will and his wife are going through and having to, like cope with and deal with from an emotional standpoint, from just even probably a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint. Like, love them to death, and I'm sending them so much love from our whole crew.
And I mean, big shout out to him to be able to find a way to get to the game, to use it for what for what it's created for. I'm sure that was some solace for him to be able to play a few times, get out there, and not necessarily escape, but appreciate, realize, take in, truly kind of just heal about the whole thing. That's tough to do in any scenario about anything. And he's taken all the right steps. Lots of thoughts and prayers to the family, but it's remarkable the strength that they have.
Yeah, and it really, if you watch the Cannons post game press conference after their game against the Whips, it really puts into perspective Will's response to a question he got asked about, advice he would give to anybody in the PLL, and he said, "Spend time with the fans." And it really gives a whole new meaning to that answer, and just the perspective that Will has. And I really am crushed for them, but I know that if there's some people that can make a horrendous situation into something powerful, it'll be Will and his wife, because they're just two remarkable people. Um, and I'm hoping for the healing process for them to take as long as they need. You know what I mean? Like, and hopefully they are able to, recover and be, you know, level headed from a lot of the emotional, you know, stress and damage that something like that can cause. So sending our best to the Manny family. And I mean, it's it puts a lot of just life in perspective too, and it puts a lot of this season in perspective when we've had a chance to talk to Brian. And anytime Will gets brought up, we know how close Will and Marcus are. It just puts a lot of like the outside weight of what was going on in that locker room, because not only is that a heavy toll and a heavy weight on Will, that's a heavy weight on that whole locker room with the way that the culture is with the Boston Cannons.
Yeah, they're truly a family after being a team. So that's not something that just Will felt. The entire team felt it, and they felt it the entire season. And you could argue that that could be playing a factor into kind of part of how the season went. Obviously, they wanted to play better than they did to afford an opportunity for him to maybe play in the playoffs and those kind of things. But having something like that going on in the back of your heads, etc., it factors into how your season goes.
Yeah. So with that being said, the Cannons missed the playoffs. The Archers missed the playoffs. The Water Dogs and Whip Snakes missed the championship series. I'm sure Stags is doing backflips that they finished just outside the top 4. And it's fascinating looking at the end of season PLL table of just the duality of everybody, in terms of where they finished overall. The Outlaws and Atlas both finished 7-3. The Redwoods and Chaos both finished 5-5. Whip Snakes and Water Dogs both finished 4-6. Cannons and Archers both finished 4-6. And genuinely, like, looking at how things like broke for each team, the game that truly saved the Whip Snakes season was their back half of their homecoming in Baltimore, putting up a plus 14 in the score differential to give themselves cushion for the remainder of the season, getting a win there. They finished with the third best score differential in the league at 4-6. The only two teams better were the Outlaws and Atlas. Whip Snakes finished at plus 11. Every other team in the league finished negative.
Insane.
And it's and then it's
game.
also a kudos to the Chaos for being able to weather that storm where everyone was like, ooh, their score differential is going to come back and bite them in the ass this year. And that's going to be a reason that they miss the playoffs. It's credit to their offense coming to life and, winning a bunch of close games or losing close to where the score differential didn't necessarily bite them in the ass. And it allowed them to qualify for Champ Series because they finished with a better record than the Whip Snakes. And I also think it's fascinating, Deej, the only team this year that did not record 100 or more scores are the two-time defending champion Utah Archers.
Yeah, they really struggled on the offensive end this year. I don't know what that was about. But like I mentioned earlier in the episode, the parity in the league was just unreal this year.
Yeah. So your final table standings here. In the East, it's the New York Atlas, the Maryland Whip Snakes, the Philadelphia Water Dogs, and then the Boston Cannons. And then in the West, the Denver Outlaws, the California Redwoods, Carolina Chaos, Utah Archers. And the Utah Archers are on the clock, and the draft debates are already hot in the streets on the twitter.com.
Yes, they've been
going.
Good
grief.
I love it because I'm not jumping in none of it.
Yep.
But it is.
Sometimes you just have to sit back and watch the world burn.
It's interesting to see people's wheels turning already in all the possible scenarios for their team to end up with Joey Spallina. It's so funny. Everybody's like, all right, so my team's going to give up half of our roster. And we're going to have Joey Spallina because we're going to get the number 1 pick.
We're going to mortgage all of our homecoming passes.
We're going to give him cash considerations.
Dude, the day cash considerations coming to the PLL.
Oh my God.
The most multifaceted athlete to ever exist. Cash considerations.
Cash considerations is going to be so funny in the PLL.
Dude,
because when it first comes around, it's literally going to be clear that it's like 50,000 bones.
Well, you know what's crazy?
Like, hey, you just got tossed to the side for nothing.
John Axford in Major League Baseball, when he got traded from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Milwaukee Brewers, and he is a Toronto guy. He was playing for his hometown team. He got traded for cash considerations. He quote tweeted that trade when it was the anniversary of it. He said the cash considerations were $1. He got traded for $1.
Damn. How bad you gotta be to get traded for $1?
And he wasn't even like that bad, I don't think. Like, he's a guy that pitched in Major League Baseball for a long time. I forget when that trade happened. What year was that? That was...
What did he do, though? Like he had to have done something. Like, you don't just get traded for $1 if you even half decent.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, holy shit.
Like, why them folks hate you like that? They literally gave you away for free.
He got traded. Let's see. When was that? Great podcasting here as we talk about the one sport that lacrosse people hate.
We do this all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah, so he got traded from the Blue Jays to the Brewers in August of 2021. And I guess he was like on a minor league contract. So that may have been...
He literally got traded for nothing. You can't even buy anything for $1 in these times.
Mm-hmm.
They gave you away for free, bro. That's terrible.
And I wonder if the cash considerations came into play because it was later revealed that he pitched a third of an inning in his return to the Brewers. And he was removed from the game due to injury. And then it was revealed that he had structural damage in his right elbow and missed the remainder of the year. And he became a free agent after. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
Maybe. So that's what he did. He was hurt. Makes all the sense in the world.
But still crazy to be like, optically, cash considerations ended up being $1.
I mean, hey, transparency is key, right?
Literally. But we head to the play.
I wonder who told him.
Right?
Like who got mad and was petty and like, yeah, that's why we only traded you for $1.
Dog, this is real time here. This is hysterical, and if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you'll eventually know. The Twitter DM that I just sent you, I need you to look at that in real time on the screen because there is a just hysterical optics to this. It's Players Weekend.
Not a Rob Panel baseball bat.
It's Players Weekend in Major League Baseball, and Drake Baldwin has a Perry the Platypus baseball bat. And if you missed out on this being a thing, Deej tweeted about Rob Pannell. What was that, Chicago weekend?
Yeah, coming out of the box.
And spelled Rob's name with one L. And I responded with regular Perry the Platypus as Rob Panel. And then Rob Pannell, his Perry the Platypus, the crime-fighting mammal himself.
So now he's just Rob Panel to us.
It'd be Rob Panel, and then when Rob Pannell does a question mark or anything crazy like he's been doing the past couple of weeks, Rob Pannell!
Dude, it's oh my god. I just walk myself into these things.
It almost makes me want to like change our mascot from a duck to a platypus.
YOLO.
Or we just have that'll be like the college show mascot.
Yes. I am so here for that.
That's so funny. But the playoffs are here. We will do a more in-depth look at the playoffs next week, obviously. But what are you most excited about going into Minneapolis weekend, Deej?
Come on, bro. Why is that a trick question? The Redwoods are playing. I'm not excited for anything else. Go Woods, baby. Roll them. Honestly, though, I am just excited for like I said with Rachel earlier, it's just pure hatred. It's just two games where there's four separate teams where they happen to hate the team that is across from them. It's gonna be fun. Like that's the main thing. Is both all four teams want to play in the next game. All four teams hate the team across from. All four teams are gonna give everything they absolutely have in order to get to their ultimate goal. Unfortunately, two teams are going home and two teams are not, but it's gonna be fun the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, we get our first Bill Tierney in the PLL playoffs. We get Roy Colsey and Anthony Kelly in their first playoffs. That is crazy too. Like the quarterfinals has one experienced PLL playoffs coach, and that's Stags. Everyone else, it's their first time coaching in the PLL postseason in this quarterfinals. And then, the winners await the two best teams in the league this year on their respective sides, who will have had quite some time off, and we'll see how that affects them. On September 1st at Subaru Park, but it's going to be awesome. And it's two rivalries. Like we've talked about Carolina and California being rivals before home markets. We've talked about Philly and Maryland being rivals before home markets. These two teams on each side, like you said, Deej, they don't like each other. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of like pent up, just like results from this season when they've played against each other that are going to, fuel over into this. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we dive into a little bit of it and more with our guest on this episode, the one and only, the incomparable Rachael DeCecco. And Rachael DeCecco is brought to you by our PLL app code. Guys, there's no better way to keep up to date with the PLL postseason than with the PLL app. From articles from the beat writers to behind-the-scenes videos gearing you up for this PLL postseason, the PLL app is your one-stop source for it all. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to pll.app. And then when you go to the redeem code section in the app, type in code OTBPOD. That's code OTBPOD for 500 XP on your account. Again, download the PLL app, the App Store, Google Play Store. Play PLL Fantasy against Deej, Hoots, and myself. Plus, get all the features that you need to get ready for the PLL playoffs. And go to the redeem code section, type in OTB Pod for 500 XP on your account in the PLL app. Rachael DeCecco on the episode, an incredible interview, an incredible just like peek behind the curtain. It's so much that like, even though you and I have been following the league and covering the league for as long as we have, we got some peeks behind the curtain that we wouldn't necessarily have gotten had Rachael not been on the show. So without any further ado, everyone, here is the VP of lacrosse for the PLL, the WLL, the legend, Rachael DeCecco. All right, everybody, we now welcome on a very, 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 very special guest. She is a three-time first-team All-American defender at Princeton, a two-time National Defender of the Year, 2003 Ivy League Player of the Year, the 2003 NCAA Honda Award winner for lacrosse, a two-time NCAA champion, 2003 NCAA Tournament MVP, the 2003 Tewaaraton Award winner, a member of the NCAA 25th anniversary team, a member of the Marple Newtown High School Athletic Hall of Fame, a member of the U.S. Lacrosse Philadelphia Eastern Pennsylvania Chapter Hall of Fame, and she's currently the Premier Lacrosse League and Women's Lacrosse League VP of Lacrosse, one of our favorite humans in the sport. It is Rachael DeCecco.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Well done on the intro. That was a little bit of Kelsey treatment there. I appreciate it, Kyle.
We are so pumped to have you. I feel like this has been a long time coming and just finding the right opportunity. And just before we started recording, it's weird we don't have games this weekend. So what a perfect time to have one of our favorite people on the show. So thank you for joining us. First things first, what has the 2025 PLL season been like for you, just in terms of seeing the growth, seeing just the over the top, just like lacrosse being in everyone's, like culture zeitgeist pretty much and being in front of everyone's faces this year.
The season has been so much fun. I think the lacrosse has been off the charts. I mean, you see it just in the parity. Having the last playoff spot come down to the last game of the season is just truly unbelievable. So I think just the competitiveness to me this year has been better than ever. And the talent level, I mean, the rookies this year have been so impactful. And then you've got vets coming in, still getting it done. So from a lacrosse standpoint, it's just been so fun to watch. And having those big moments throughout the season, it just, I think it's fun is the word that comes to mind most. It's just really enjoyable to be part of it.
It feels like this year there's been like so much innovation too, from like the branding of Saturday Night Lacrosse to the breakdown booth becoming a fixture during games and everything. That we first talked about it when we were on the sideline in Baltimore when it got introduced. Like, what are some of the nuances this year that you've seen really like take off and really help propel the league to, you know, that next step of where you guys see it moving towards?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it. It's just like the mainstream integration of lacrosse. I think Saturday Night Lacrosse is great from a branding standpoint. I mean, you see football Friday night is high school, Saturday is college, Sunday is NFL, and now we have our own version of that. Every Saturday night, there's lacrosse on TV, and you can sort of plan your weekends around it. The innovation with the PLL is always something that we push. So I think let the players, adopting that and being open to that, from a lacrosse standpoint. It's like we want to keep the game as pure as we can while continuing to drive things. So breakdown booth is a great way to do that. It gave our officials a better way to review plays and challenges. So those incremental changes and improvements, I think, keep it interesting and just the integration. I mean, ESPN is such a great partner. It's very rare that a week goes by that we're not in the top 10 because our players are just doing unbelievable things on the field every weekend. So to have that platform and have people seeing that week over week, is just going to be really a launch pad for sort of that mainstream integration.
And as we mentioned, you're obviously the VP of lacrosse. I feel like, there's been a lot of new fans that have come into the PLL this year. What exactly does your title kind of encapsulate and what is like your day to day and week to week with the league?
Yeah, it's definitely the coolest title in the world. I think I love it. The way I'd sort of describe it generally is anything that hits the field sort of falls under my team's responsibility. So from coaches to players, to officials, equipment, rules, discipline, medical, so player injuries. So really just the competition piece. So what you see on a game weekend, everything kind of in that is sort of led and run by my team. So in season is pretty busy. We're reviewing plays every week. We're looking at the games. We're meeting with the officials. We're meeting with players. We're meeting with coaches. We're planning out the next few weeks, thinking about, okay, what did we see this week? How can we make incremental changes on maybe the event run of show with our awesome event ops team, player experience. Packy Watson is our player experience manager, and he's just unbelievable. So, when we bring in 152 guys into a market, there's hotel, there's food, there's travel, transportation. It's a lot for guys, right? So how can we make sure that it's a good experience? And Packy's done an amazing job with his team, just making sure the players are well taken care of and that they only have to think about what happens in the field, and we're handling everything else.
What's been the most exciting part of your job? Like, what's like the one thing you look forward to the most when a game weekend comes up?
Yeah, I mean, the front row seat is pretty nice watching it. I'm a super competitive person. So getting to watch these guys compete and give so much on the field to their teammates, to the league, to me is really incredible. I mean, they come in week over week and just give us their best. And you get to see the teammate dynamics. You get to see sort of the rivalry dynamics with two teams and being able to help support that. I mean, this is a dream come true for most people. There was no professional lacrosse when I played. So for me to be able to play a small part in having guys and now girls get to do that is really special and something that I don't take for granted.
And so what's it like from your side of things, for like the fan perspective? Like for us, we're like fans turned media, so we still like interact with them a lot. We're like sitting with them almost and like walking amongst them at times. So we kind of have their out view on some things. What's that view for you guys kind of from the other side on what the fan experience is like?
With the players, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the players and just with the PLL in general, just coming to a venue and what that encapsulates from
Yeah,
your point of view.
yeah, I mean, it's a definitely different sort of being part of the machine inside, but I think it is really special at times, particularly like if my family's there, I have friends there. When you zoom all the way out and get to see, sort of watch it through someone else's eyes, because we're so integrated into it, you don't necessarily like notice every little detail because it's just sort of what we're used to. So it is special for me when I have that moment to sort of step back and see like the post game autographs, just when I'm watching the guys make that connection with a young fan or a player and seeing what that means to the kids and their parents. It does remind you of the impact that we're able to make and that these guys have on all the fans.
And what's it been like with home cities and home markets? The first couple of years there was a lot of travel, so it's kind of like setup was the same. Like, hey, this is gonna look exactly like it did last week, so just set it up like that, and then let's walk away. Like now this year, 8 out of the 10 weeks they look completely different than every market. What's that experience been like?
Yeah, I think our fan experience team, Maddie Blakeman leading it, they have done such an amazing job of look and feel. Like you go into a stadium in UK, this is a Boston Cannons home game. So really recreating what the visuals in the stadium are, and then special things. Obviously, Boomer was kind of a great ad. We don't have mascots yet in every market, but we want the fans in those markets to know that this is the home team and have it feel that way. So look and feel is part of it. I think the run of show, when the cheering, you notice that the home team gets sort of louder celebrations. It's set up differently, but it's been really fun to watch. As you said, the first few years it was sort of neutral sites, and now with 8 of 10 home games, you can really feel the home field advantage. I mean, that Denver game, particularly this year in overtime, and the Rough Riders are, that fan base has been great for a long time. But you could feel the lift that the Outlaws were getting from the boos and the cheers. And Brennan getting booed in Utah, I think impacted him in a positive way, but different way. And so I think watching these markets adopt their team is exactly what we hoped for, that affiliation and that support to really get behind the home team and give them that sort of home team lift.
To kind of play off of that too, how fascinating has it been to kind of watch the non-traditional lacrosse markets, especially on the West Coast, like really like be at the forefront of like this rabid fandom, packing out stadiums. Like Utah and Denver to me stand out like no other this year. Like the fan experience just from watching on TV looked second to none. What is that like for you to kind of see, being someone from Philadelphia that has, a lacrosse market that is like inbred into it? What's it like seeing these non-traditional markets be at the forefront of fandom and experience?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's working. This is what we hoped. There's been groundswell, the youth movement in some of these markets, not quite, not every state in the country is sanctioned for high school lacrosse. Las Vegas is the latest state, Nevada, to get sanctioned. So I think that's a huge part of it. The youth movement in these states, and Utah has a great youth movement. But you necessarily wouldn't expect them, right, to have such a strong showing for the home team. As you said, Philly, we know they're going to show up. So I think it's a signal that it's working, and this is what we want. And I think in some of these non-traditional markets, there's an appreciation. They're getting to see these guys a couple times a year. They'll get coached by them sometime, but they understand the magnitude of the talent and what's coming into their city, and they want to make sure to support it. So, I think it just is a really good signal for us that these home cities have embraced the league and their teams, particularly in the non-traditional, because it's just going to continue to grow support for youth, for sanctioning, and then it becomes just really a mainstream in every single state.
What was it? I'm going to rewind on the season a little bit. What was it like for you kind of watching the real-time unraveling of a Jared Bernhardt free agency saga? For somebody who's dealing with the game day portion of things for your job, but knowing a player and just a personality like Jared can affect any of the markets that he decides to sign with. What is that like for you as you're watching this whole saga unfold? And it's really the first of its kind in the PLL.
Yeah, so it was a training camp, and player movement falls on our team as well. So just pretty heavily involved in the coach communication, making sure everything was above board. It is the biggest free agency signing we've had, so working with the team on that process. And then when he made his decision, making sure everything's buttoned up the way it was supposed to be, and getting out to the world. So I think it's exciting, to have somebody of his caliber that wants to, come back to the game and play for a long time. So it was happening as we were all together at training camp, which was kind of nice, because we could sort of huddle and kind of experience it all in real time and make sure everything, happened the way it should happen, and the rules were followed and all that. And it was really cool to see, to be honest, and like watch the coaches have that sort of struggle, or not struggle, I guess, like who's getting him, and they're all trying to put their best foot forward, and where is he going to land, and really not knowing until it was done was pretty cool.
What is your relationship with Seth Tierney like? Because you two are a dynamic duo. No matter if you're at a game day, watching on TV, like, you two feel like you're thick as thieves. What is the working relationship like? And then just what is like your overall relationship with Seth?
Yeah. I met Seth in the bubble in 2020. I had never met him before. I didn't know who he was. And we get to the bubble for the next however many days together. And he gives the opening, sort of like, we had a morning meeting every day on the field. This is what we're doing. We're all sort of in this together. And he gave the first opening speech about just what it was like to be there. It was a coach speech, essentially. We were staring down a lot of days together, isolated from our families, and it was going to be a lot of work. And I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. Like, I want to hear more from him. Like, he just, like, his leadership and his approach to things. And then we spent the next 20 some days in the bubble together with our team. And, from then on, and I was working with our youth business then, so we didn't have a ton of crossover. But Seth is one of one. I can call Seth at any moment of any day and say help, and he will answer the call. And I'm not unique in that. Seth just like shows up for his people in a way that I've never seen. The way he takes care of the people in his circle, and the players and the coaches and the staff, and his Hofstra guys and his US guys. So I feel really lucky to work with him. He has my back in every way. And then his humor, I think, in the moments, Seth can make you laugh. His one-liners are legendary. I'll spare everybody the details on them. But we have a list of Seth one-liners that it's Seth. It's who he is. And I think he's always been so supportive. When I got hired to run lacrosse, it's a woman coming into a men's sport, and he was like, I'm with you. I'm next to you. Like, I got you. And we're going to do this together. And that has been, since that day one conversation with him, that's what it's been like. So he is in the trenches with us every day on whatever happens. And it's pretty amazing. We spend a lot of time together, and Andrew Manning as well. There's sort of the three of us. And I feel so fortunate, because it's rare to find, and this is true of the PLL in general, to find people, to work with people that you genuinely like love and care about. And especially when you're spending so much time with them. Like, we love our game weekends together, because it's quality time. And we're getting to do something we care about and love. So, yes, that's kind of stuck with me. I mean, he may have a different answer, but I could not be more appreciative of everything Seth is and everything he does.
Speaking of Seth, do we ever see all goals becoming reviewable? It's something like we've talked about, just as like, and mostly off pod, just as buddies. But it's like, we see the replay, whether we're in venue or at home on TV, like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
Is that not being looked at as well? It's like this is kind of things that are rumbled about, and it's like everybody feels like all goals being reviewable is kind of just that quick, easy fix. Like, Seth can look at it, or whoever's there for the day can look at it during that replay time, say yes or no, and then go from there.
It's a fair question. I think it's come up a couple times this year, more than in the past. And I think the replay sort of booth is a good next step for us, but it's definitely come up. I think sort of the next iteration is eyes in the sky. Can we have someone in this press box quickly reviewing? I think because we want to get it right, that's the most important thing, without sort of having this long delay between goals. So I absolutely think there's a way to accomplish it. And I do think it's going to be a discussion in the off season for sure.
I can imagine that is always the most fun off-season conversation. Is the rules, what's staying the same, what's changing.
Yeah.
Our coaches and players kind of, or I imagine not all players, but probably a handful are thrown in that conversation. So it's
all of our
seamless.
coaches. Yeah, all of our coaches have the opportunity to submit rule change ideas, and our player council. There's at least one or two guys on each team that have a chance to say, "Hey, this is what I think," and then the rules committee will look through it. And yeah, it's a lot of conversation because I do think we have a great game that we're watching, right? But there's always ways to improve it. So it is always a fun sort of strategy session in the off season around rule changes and how we can continue to drive innovation, but make the game really easy to understand for just sort of a normal fan, just turning on the TV and watching, but also holding true to the core of what makes our game great.
Are there any conversations between, you guys and the NCAA about kind of making those games a little more synonymous? A big one for us has been shot clock. Would love to see the college shot clock go 60-40 and then reset to 40 instead of 80-60. Kind of like, what are thoughts?
Yeah, I do think the NCAA is watching and seeing some of the things that have worked really well, and there will be some adoption in the future on some of the. I think shot clock's a great example. When you on the women's side, it's 60 and 90. So when you're watching a PLL game and then you go to the college game, it is different. Those possessions are longer, so it does slow it down in some ways. But I do think, obviously we have a lot of college coaches playing in the league. You've got college coaches involved in coaching in the front office, so. I do think there's some good conversation and crossover around adoption and like what makes sense in the college game that like has been pushed in the PLL game.
I don't know if you have any, direct reflection on it yet, but what are some things that you've seen as a positive this year with two teams in the California Redwoods and Carolina Chaos having the head coach GM split for the first time, that happened this year? What are some positives you think have come from that, and seeing, Roy Colsey and Anthony Kelly take their teams, first year as coaches to the playoffs after those teams, had down years last year? What do you see as a positive of that role split for the league?
Yeah, I think I think the additional resource for them to be looking at talent differently, and those conversations, so that Roy can focus on X's and O's and building those relationships in the locker room, and you've got Spencer thinking through the sort of next iteration of their team strengths, who he's watching and scouting on a weekend. So I think it just allows more focus for the head coaches to focus on sort of the gameplay, and then having somebody like Joe or Spencer kind of doing some of that off-field analysis and evaluation makes sense. And it also makes those conversations easier because you're talking, somebody's talking to you about salary and contract, and then someone else is kind of talking to you about your play. So I do think it's been a positive for both teams. And I think that'll be the path moving forward as we, as teams either turn over coaches, or coaches may come to us and say, hey, like I'd like to have a GM. Some coaches have, like doing the GM role, and they handle both really, really well. I think some coaches, after watching it, may say, you know what, this seems like a positive. It's something that we want to consider for next year too.
So do you ever, sorry to cut you off, Kevin, do you
No,
ever
you're good.
think there is a time where, like, I could see like being like 5 or 6 years down the road, Staggs is still here doing his thing, and he's like, I still want to be coaching GM. Is there ever like a time where, like, front office steps in and is like, look, like, we're going to coaches and GMs, so you can either just leave or you can pick a side, like, or will you like kind of let a guy ride out like Staggs until he's done?
Yeah, I think probably the latter, assuming that it's making sense for him and the team. Obviously, we own all the teams, so that we want to make sure that everybody's healthy and thriving. Staggs is a great example of somebody who manages GM coach really well. So if he's still able to do that and has energy around it, I don't see like a mandate where like you have to have a GM. But I think it is the next iteration, of our front office staff, and I do like in 5 or 6 years, I imagine we'll have GMs across the board.
You're on the mic for a lot of big events in the PLL, whether it's, the second through fourth round of the college draft, the Hall of Fame this year. What was the Hall of Fame induction like for you this year? I know you have a close relationship with a lot of those guys, if not all of them. What was that just emotional ride for you, being able to be a part of such a special day for those 4 guys?
It was pretty amazing. Obviously, have gotten to do it in previous years and have had some relationships with with previous Hall of Famers, but this class particularly having a connection with each and every guy from, Kyle and I work together, Joe and I work together, obviously Paul and I still work together, and Kevin's college roommate is my brother-in-law. So we know each other from that, the typical like small lacrosse world thing. And just to know the caliber of human being that all four of those men are, and to see what it meant, they're all legends. And to see what it meant to them and to be able to like witness their families. And we had a nice like lunch before, and to hear from them about just their road to like their lacrosse journey and the road to the Hall of Fame and all the people that have impacted them. To be able to publicly welcome them in the Hall of Fame was pretty remarkable. I was mostly worried I was going to mess it up, like just to get it right for these guys. But it was really special, and it's going to be hard to top this year, just given the caliber of the class and like my personal connections with all these guys. And Chicago just showed up in such a big way that it made it even more special. So it was a really, really cool weekend, and I'm like grateful to be part of it.
The E word has been thrown out a lot. I'm not big on the E word quite yet in terms of full teams. We've thrown around the idea of expanding to 21 on the game day roster versus 19. Kind of what's your opinions, or maybe even you're able to give kind of some background knowledge on why 21 hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. There's a couple things. I think it's a good question. So a little bit of balancing priorities and investment, right? So we've talked about more guys on a roster, and like with coaches, and like would that be helpful? Would it not be helpful? And I think there's a little bit of a mixed review on it. The next, obviously, the iteration is 21 for the home team, which makes sense because you got 2 games. But it's really balancing priorities and investment with the guys and what they're asking for, what matters to them. I do think as the business grows and we hope to continue to grow, like we create more opportunities for guys to be seen, right? That's the challenge. If you're not coming to a weekend, you're not kind of getting seen by the coach. So I do think in this off season, as we think about growth and what's next, it's like, how can we make sure that those 19 through 25 are getting more looks, and how can we accomplish that within the structure that we have now? Because it's like the season we talked about it before, it goes so quickly. And how can we help coaches have more time to evaluate talent and like make those roster decisions real time, versus just what they saw in that game weekend, and make like with the GMs, it certainly helps. Like, I think this guy fits here. But without seeing him week to week, it is hard to make that decision. So I do think it's something that we'll look at in this off season, and what is the next iteration of that travel and that sort of out of game practice situation.
And eventually we'll get to, more teams. Are you along the lines of Paul and liking Chicago as a lacrosse town and trying to get a team there? And are there any other markets that you're hoping kind of get a chance to be a neutral site over the next couple of years to see kind of what the interest is like?
Yeah, I love Chicago. Northwestern women's lacrosse is just unbelievable, which I already knew going in. But having Street Lacrosse and Hall of Fame and the game weekend, and just seeing the fandom and just the way the energy they showed up in Chicago, I think totally aligned with Paul there. And I think there are other markets that would love to have us and do really well. And hopefully we get to see some of those soon. But I totally agree. Like, we were all in Chicago just saying like, this is a great market for lacrosse. And we hadn't been there since 2019. So to go back and see that sort of growth from 2019 till now is pretty special. So Northwestern was amazing. The crowd, we got great weather, which always helps. And I think that the goal is to go back.
I always find it fun and like fascinating to see just the different skill levels of player on the field. And I think one of the big things about the PLL, and I think one of the big like successes, is seeing the guys that are, your quote unquote D3 heroes that are able to come in and hold their own with a lot of these high caliber Division I lacrosse players. And I think Cross Ferrara is a big one that comes to mind for a lot of people. But for you, and seeing the ability of the guys that are D3 or D2, or, some guys that didn't even necessarily go to college, are able to kind of come in and hold their own and make game day rosters and play. how exciting is that for just the growth of the product that's on the field, to know that it's not just reliant on these high caliber D1, heavy level recruits when they're coming out of high school and everything like that.
Yeah, Michael Grace, RIT legend, comes to mind too. I think representation matters for these kids, and I think having children myself and being like involved in the youth sports pretty heavily with my kids, it's like D1, D1, D1. There's so many more great opportunities that aren't in D1 for kids, and I think to see D3, D2, or like you said, people that maybe that didn't play succeed, it just shows there's like many paths to success. It's not just I need to go to a top 5 D1 school to get to the PLL. So I think that representation and those stories and watching other people do it for these kids is just really meaningful, and I think will expand their horizons around what success is in general, but also like I don't need to follow this cookie cutter path to get to the PLL. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Your son is a member of the junior archers.
He
Got to announce
is.
a draft pick this year. I think you guys have such an awesome just relationship of mom and son, but seeing him kind of grow into his own and finding his path with the sport and just being not only involved with the PLL, but just being a mom, how exciting has that process been for you?
Really special. When I started the PLL, he was 9. And we didn't have home cities then. And he was like, he's like, who should I root for? And I'm like, there's a lot of great guys in PLL. I wasn't on the lacrosse side yet. Tom Schreiber's pretty awesome. He went to Princeton. He's like one of the best human beings you'll ever meet. And he was like, okay, Tom Schreiber in 2020. And he kind of declared his fandom for the Archers then and hasn't looked back. And they've been so good to him. And it's been fun to watch. Now having him, he's starting his freshman year in high school. So watching him fall more and more in love with the game through PLL, through just his teammates, it's been very cool. He wants to come every single PLL weekend because he comes and he just has the best time, and he's part of the crew. Obviously, I said I got a job to do, so he can't always come. But it's been really fun to watch that we can sort of share our love of the game together through the PLL.
And I mean, on top of that, like, you have daughters as well. You're running the WLL. I think a lot of people forget because it was so short-lived. Like, you got on my radar with the WPLL in 2019.
Yeah.
To see from where that was in 2019 to then the Athletes Unlimited chapter to now the WLL, how sick is it to just watch the growth of women's lacrosse?
Very sick. I think WPLL at the time was great for where we were, like what we had. We like bootstrapped it. PLL partnered with us in their first year, which now looking back, what an unbelievable gift, because we were playing at Gillette and Homewood, and they brought us right into the fold to support Mike and Paul, that signaled to me like I immediately want to work with these guys someday. Like that showed me a lot about them. And I'm proud of what it was. Now looking back, I have a little bit of cringe thinking about some of the operations at the moment, but it was what we did the best with what we had. And now seeing the WLL and all that it is and all that it is going to become is so unbelievable. And I know we have a ways to go, but we have such incredible people behind it, and the athletes are so bought in and supportive. And I think people are finally realizing the value in women's sports. And it for us, it's great to see those aha moments when people are watching the game and realize how special it is and how just incredible it is. So that journey, I think, I don't know that I'd appreciate the WLL as much as I do without having that WPLL experience. I mean, and there was UWLX before that. So I'm ready to be done with the firsts. I think Dana Dobie said it, like, enough of the first. Like, we're here to stay. We're going to build this. There isn't going to be another, right? Like, this is it. We're doing this. It's going to be successful. We've got Champ Series under our belt, and the All-Star game was really, really fun to watch. So I feel confident in the brand and the people behind it and the athletes involved. So I would say it's in a really good spot, and we're thrilled about the future.
The future you bring up with the WLL, how far in your mind, maybe a guesstimate, are we from like a season for WLL?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people kind of thought that was what was going to happen this year. I was like, one, you're crazy. Like they kind of just rolled this thing out. They're not jumping right into a full season, but you know,
Yeah.
can people kind of itch that or scratch that itch?
Yeah. I think that was like, oh, you're not having we didn't expect the 80 athletes unlimited to go away. And the plan was always to be not competitive with them. We'll run in February, they'll run in the summer. It'll be great for women to have multiple opportunities to play. So when they announced that they were removing lacrosse, it was hard because the women didn't have anywhere to play this summer. So, I think my answer there is that we're going to continue to build and invest in the women, and there's more to come. And I think we've got, again, the right people on board and the right support. And I'm just excited about what's next.
The PLL ecosystem, from the outside looking in and having been around a lot of you guys since year one, like it never feels like there's burnout or crash out from you guys. Like you always are just like so welcoming, so inviting, like the energy's always high. What do you think has been a major thing just as a business for you guys to kind of avoid that and be able to have the energy from, the interns all the way up to you, Mike, Paul, that every single day that you guys are on the job, it's a brand new day, it's refreshed energy. What do you think kind of contributes to just that working ecosystem you guys have built?
Yeah, it starts at the top with leadership, and the tone that they're setting and the culture they're building. And that's how they are, Mike and Paul. So it's easy to see that and see their passion and their energy and their just undying efforts to make the PLL a success. And then I think it's also culture of who we're hiring. We're spending a lot of time together and working a lot of hours together. And genuinely, like, we have a lot of fun. So I think it's energizing. It's a lot of work, and it's obviously very tiring. But there's so much energy gained from watching everybody work so hard, and seeing the results, that I think that, the fun that we're having and the work that we're doing and the impact we're making, it just really brings so much, like, joy and energy back to you, that it's easy to keep that up, because you just see everybody around you working so hard, and caring so much. And it's just like, this is the expectation. If you're at the PL, this is what you do. And you don't want to let your teammates down. So Mike and Paul have set that tone and culture of hard work and energy and positivity and like working together. We're one team. So I think that's just trickled down, all the way to the interns. As you say, those brand ambassadors work so hard every weekend, and they're smiling the whole time they're doing it. So it's fun to watch.
I know it's a couple years down the line, but in terms of, preparation and building, it's like a snap of the fingers. How involved are you with the IOC and preparing for the Olympics and everything like that?
Yeah, I don't. Me personally, I think the PLL is a whole has been involved, and Paul's been really critical to that movement. Me personally, not as much. I think it's really thinking about, though, our sixes version, and we've seen guys. The Olympics is the dream for everybody, so it's a sixes format. So we've seen just a lot more energy internally from our guys around sixes and mastering that version of the game, because everybody wants to make that Olympic team. So I think it's just for me and the lacrosse group, is continuing to build that part of the business and take care of that version of the game, and how can we foster it so that when we get on the biggest stage in LA 2028 and our guys and girls are out there, making sure that the world knows what an incredible game we have, and that it's here to stay, that we get through the Olympics and in Brisbane, and then, we're locked in.
I think to go back to the WLL, and when I showed up to Champ Series this year, it was, you said it best, Charlotte North had her Beatles moment. What is it like seeing, because I do think, like, yes, the PLL and autographs after the game, like the kids are so invested, but like I genuinely think there's a bit of a difference when it comes to the women's game, because when they're on the field, they don't have helmets on, so their faces are more recognizable. How much of a one of those aha moments was it to kind of see Charlotte have those moments, see Izzy Skane, and all of the just pomp and circumstance that like not only were the young like girl fans just like so excited to see these girls, they were just so like appreciative of the time that they were getting to spend with those athletes, even if it was for all of 15 seconds to get a jersey signed or a card signed or something like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotions that week. I think we talked about sort of the winding path of women's professional lacrosse, and it's been challenging and disappointing, and then it has left like a bad taste in some players' mouths, right? It's been hard. It's not been what we all know it can be. So I think having Champ Series be the success that it was, and seeing how invested the fans were immediately. I mean, they've been watching Charlotte and Izzy and Allie for years in college. So transferring that into professional stage, there was definitely like there were moments when we looked at each other and just filled up with tears because it's like this is what we hoped this would be. And Charlotte, and we have the best. What makes my job so amazing is just the people I get to spend my time with, whether it's PLL staff, PLL athletes, WL athletes. So to have Charlotte be as gracious and kind and Izzy, all of them as they are, and have those moments of connection. There were like thousands of people like herding around her, and I was like, all right, are you good? Like, you ready to go? No, I'm good. And our guys are the same way. Like, let me know if you want me to pull you. No, I'm going to sign more. And they get it. And that to me is not, I don't think pro sports, you don't see that in every sport. Like, they are truly giving back to the fans and engaging with them. And those moments are forever moments. Those kids are going to remember that and maybe keep a stick in their hand or show back up to the next game or buy that jersey. And all of that matters so much for the success of WL and PLL. And, we joked there was a cry count, happy tears that week, because every time something just very cool would happen, we would just look at each other and say, this is so amazing. This is what we hoped it would be. And it really was. And like the double headers with the guys, like the adrenaline spike and crash in between those games, because they're very intense. Sixes is a different, very quick, intense version. So it was a really cool week.
No, I don't have a question.
Oh,
I'm literally just like starstruck right now.
We talked about him a little. What is it like working with Mike and Paul? We have a very good relationship with both of them too, but just on a day-to-day and a working relationship, but it feels like you have just a phenomenal just like friendship with both of them. What's it like, being able to go to work every day and say, yeah, I get to work with the Rabel brothers?
Yeah. I mean, I talked about it a little bit when we launched the WPLL, and quite honestly, I had spent my time in healthcare. So I was really like diving in with 2 feet on sports management and how do I get better at this? And like, we reached out to Mike and Paul and they were like, okay, how can we help? And they were just launching the league. So it wasn't like they were an established business at that point. They hadn't had a game yet. And I got to watch through our partnership, their work ethic, their determination, their persistence. And I was like, I want to work for them someday. Like I would like, I want to work with them. Like, it was just very clear just from a like culture. And then that was going to be part of like what I like manifesting that. And then it took 2 years to get there. But their ability to build this thing with a group of people that care so much and are so bought in, their work ethic, and it comes, I think, from Big Al. I got to work with Big Al and Jean Ann. I mean, they are tireless and they're always thinking about how can we make this business better? How can we help the players? How can we grow this thing? It's so unique in leadership that are so high up, right? And could be disassociated from business. They're just in it with us. And I think that means the world, because I can text Mike and say, hey, this is going on. Like, what should we do? Or, talk to Paul about really anything. And I think that it just helps make us better as a business. And I think that leadership and that approach for them sets the tone. And we just kind of know that they're like, they got our backs when we need it.
How special has it been that since year one, like Philadelphia has been a like blue chip market, not only, bringing the Water Dogs in, but like multiple championships have been won in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Playoffs have been played there for you as somebody who you call Philadelphia home, how special is that year over year to know that like Philly is such a big part of what the PLL does?
Yeah, go Birds.
Absolutely.
Being born and raised a Philly sports fan, we're a special kind, I think. So watching the PLL come to Philly, one of the best parts of my job, and we touched on a little bit of this with Grayson, is when my family and PLL get to collide in a way where they're experiencing PLL with me. And when it's in Philly, I get to have that. So family, friends, sort of watching the magic of the PLL and experiencing it. And, I leave a lot for PLL. So I'm usually, across the country or somewhere else, and I'm obviously in touch with my family, but there's a distance, like they're not in it in the way that we are on a game weekend. So when I have the opportunity to sort of integrate like two very important things in my life, it's like very cool. And I also think like Philly is the best sports town. I'm not biased at all, but Philly's the best sports town. So I mean, we just got to keep showing up. And there, speaking of September 1st, Labor Day, PLLtickets.com. We still have tickets available for Philly. Nobody needs to be at the Shore. You come back, get those PLL games in, and we start school the next day. So excited about that. Going to get everybody on board and at the games, and thrilled that we get the semifinals again in Philly.
What is it like too because I always talk to Mike about this, where the value of like that endemic media and having that from day one, whether it's, Inside Lacrosse, TLN, people like us, Dan Arestia, and the ever growing, world of the digital media landscape and podcasting and everything, to have not only the ESPN partnership, but for you guys to also have like the independent, media out there to help promote the league, and whether it be on game day or, just week to week, somebody's covering the league the way that it's covered. How awesome is that for you when it comes to just the product that's on the field? And when you see guys going on shows or they're, doing a hit on Sports Center, how much like excitement does that bring you?
It's huge for us. I mean, we need and want people covering us. And sometimes it's like, the independent media there, it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's how, like, being on the inside, people are looking at it differently. And they're evaluating our product, right, which is so personal, and they're evaluating our players, which is so personal to the players. But it's such a necessity for us as a business. We want conversations to be had. There needs to be dialogue about the games week to week. And I feel honestly like humbled that people are taking their time, like you guys, and investing your time in the league and covering it and giving us that time and giving our athletes that airspace. So I think it's so important to our success, and I value the time and energy that folks like yourself are spending, in the game.
We always talk about this too when we have players on. Who's a player that, when you're at a PLL weekend and everything, that you want to see spotlighted more, that may not necessarily be one of these big time players? That may not be, somebody getting, all over Sports Center highlights, but because you're around them, this person is just an incredible, not only player, person, but like deserves that extra shine. Who's somebody that kind of sticks out to you in that way?
I love the question. Can I answer with two people?
Of course.
Okay. All right. First one, and he's finally getting his due this year, is Troy Ray. Troy Ray he's quietly just been crushing it for years. He's so humble. He's so kind. He will really do anything that's asked. Like, he's like, how can I help? And he's a really good player. And I think he's kind of been behind the scenes. Obviously, the Chaos defense has been the best for a while. They got Blaze, they got Jack. So it's felt like he's been sort of supporting cast and not gotten as much airtime. And this year, I think it's good. He's starting to get his due. So he would be one. And I think Ryan Ambler is another. And maybe he's not as under the radar as I think he is, but he's teammate of the year. So that tells you a lot. He's an incredible leader on his team. Anyone that works that hard off ball, to me, deserves a lot of credit. Like, when Ryan comes in from the sub box, he is sprinting full speed. So Ryan's not just about Ryan. He's about setting his team up for success, which is also kind of what he's like as a person. Like, he's not a selfish person. So I think we should be talking more about the way he plays and the opportunities he creates for his teammates. And I think he should get a little bit more credit for that.
What's it been like now that, like DJ brought up earlier with home markets and everything, but seeing the way that each team has like individually just like assimilated and fit to their market in the perfect way for each of these 8 teams. Obviously, Denver coming back, the Outlaws had that history there. Same with the Boston Cannons, but for the 6 teams that didn't initially have a home market, how fascinating has it been to see just the embrace from those markets and the teams and branding kind of just like falling perfectly into place like a puzzle in those markets?
Remarkable. The identity building and immediate adoption of identities. I think our supporter groups have had a huge role in that. In each of our markets, we've got supporter groups that have gotten behind the teams and helped build that identity. But it has like slipped seamlessly into place where, there's bad boys and there's, America's team and there's, and it matches the market and it matches the players. And, obviously, our social team does a great job and content of showing the guys and showing those stories and really letting people get that inside look into the locker room. And you connect with the players differently because you have so much access. But I think in terms of like home market adoption to identity in this short amount of time is like certainly exceeded expectations.
Speaking of that, branding and all those things for home markets, a big thing for other sports are, tertiary jerseys, special game night jerseys. Will we ever see early PLL jerseys become throwback jerseys?
Oh.
Kind of what is the mindset toward like City Connect, kind of, that side of branding for fans?
Yeah, you've seen a little bit of that with the Cannons throwback, our throwback, Indigenous heritage. I do think there's, Liam Murphy is an incredible designer. So I think his brain is endless when it comes to coming up with cool ideas and design. So yeah, I think we'll see more of that as time goes on. It like is remarkable to me to watch him just ideate on a logo and a design and come up with just the coolest things every single time. So yeah, I think we're always looking at ways to innovate there and create. Obviously, it's a merchandise purchase opportunity as well. People want to buy those jerseys, so definitely.
So, are there any other merch ideas that are being thrown around? A big one for us has been like mini helmets or like that kind of thing. Funko Pops, so like those kind of areas.
Yeah.
Are there any other plans in the merch?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the merch team, but I will say they're a very creative group, and I think they're always thinking about ways to do cool things and innovate. So yeah, I don't think it'll get stale. I think there'll always be new things coming down the merch pike outside of apparel, obviously, but we have one of the things we have a merch ideas channel that people just drop cool ideas in, and that's one of the sort of hallmarks of the PLL. Like everybody can share an idea. Merch ideas is the perfect example of that. Like, oh my gosh, we should do this, and it gets everybody's creative juices flowing, and then merch can evaluate each opportunity. Does this make sense? Should we run on it? And it's fun to see just the creativity it's the whole company. So anyone can say, I think we should do X, Y, or Z. And it, sometimes they come to fruition. It's cool to watch.
What's the most difficult, I guess, for lack of a better term, PLL, you're at a weekend, you see that age, 7 to 13-year-old kid stoked out of their mind to be at a PLL weekend. Then on top of that, how are they getting there? You have their parents there. That's 2 different, age demos. What's the challenge of bringing in the new fan that's between like DJ and I's age demo of that 25 to like 35 to get them really involved and wanting to embrace a new professional sport potentially for the first time and bringing them in and making them realize that like, hey, this is like the next one up?
Yeah, Mike talks a lot about it. It's the attention economy, right? There's so many different places people can put their attention. So many things pulling people in different directions. I think summer is an interesting challenge because people are either traveling or maybe not home more than they would be in the fall or spring. So I think getting somebody to a game is the biggest thing, because watching it at home is one thing. Watching it in person is a completely different experience in a very cool way. So I think it's a matter of, okay, to this demo you're talking about, let's figure out a way to get them out here once and they will be hooked, because it is fast, it is physical, it is aggressive, it is fun. So it's the focus on just getting them to that first game and seeing what it's all about. And then kind of building that fan for life. Once we get them into the fandom, we want to keep them, right? So the focus is on having them view it live, because it's just a total, I mean, you guys have been there, it's just different, and just really unique, I think, to most sporting events.
What was your whether it be positive, negative, or if you have two, what was kind of your welcome to the PLL moment of like realization on something that was like, oh, this is a challenge, or like, oh, like this is like, we're here, it's working. Like, what are some of those moments you've had throughout, working with the PLL that have kind of like struck that nerve for you?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge, probably when I first started, and then because of my healthcare background, I joined the COVID committee, and then I was in the bubble COVID testing guys every day. And I think that was a really big challenge. Like, we're in our second year of existence. It's really scary for everybody what's going on, and trying to get guys through that and then still get them focused on the field. I think it was a really scary time. And then I would say, like, the we've made it moment. I think these home weekends for me are the best signal. Like, when I'm in Boston, Utah last year was one of those, when Bo Pedersen scored that goal, the hometown kid, and that comeback. I mean, the amount of times I'm watching a game and I'm just like, goosebumps. Denver, the overtime Denver game, goosebumps. Like, these iconic moments, and then you just hear the roar of the crowd. Those are the moments that I'm like, this is working. Like, it's happening. In addition to, like, the continued investment by ESPN. I mean, they've just been such great partners. So, when I'm, when we're, after the game at a restaurant, or I'm in the airport for my red eye and I'm watching our guys on Sports Center, like, we are just, we're like PLL, we're in it. It's like, you can see it leaking into, and just the growth. So those crowds, the archers were practicing during the first night of the Cannons game, and they were like 2 fields over, at the practice field. And they were like, we could tell what was happening by the way the crowd noise was going up and down. When something good happened, we knew. And obviously that game mattered very much to them. And so, that to me is just the coolest thing. They were like, we were listening and could tell, like, where the game was at based on the crowd noise, which I thought was pretty special.
I did the same thing the other night. I went to my first Union game, and during halftime, they did a whole ad read for the semifinals in the stadium. And I was like, I couldn't have lost my mind more. I was like, yeah.
PLL in the wild. Like, when you're just in a random place and you see a PLL jersey and you're like, yes, you get it. This is great. Yep. Pump. Yeah. On the airplanes. And like, for folks that have been following a long time, like, you're seeing more and more of it. Right. So now it still excites me every time. I mean, I'll be at Grayson's tournament. Obviously there's a ton of PLL gear there, but I still, every time I'm just like, that's cool. It's just like, you get excited, but the growth and the, like, you're seeing more and more of it just out, and we say PLL in the wild. That's just really, I think, really cool. And you can just feel it catching on.
I know. I like walk into Dick's Sporting Goods and I see like an ECD thing with Brian Cospiel. I'm like, hey, I know that guy.
Yep. It's really neat. Yeah.
We always ask the guys when they come on, who's, the fun guy in the locker room, who's the fun guy in the PLL, locker room for the league.
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's Seth, to be honest. He just makes everybody laugh. And he keeps it light. So he's the serious guy, but he's also the fun guy. So yeah, I would say Seth.
And I jokingly bring this up all the time. I think from the years 2019 to probably 2023, if children between the ages of 6 to 14 had the ability to vote for the president of the United States, I think RJ Kaminsky would be president of the United States right now.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, and I maybe have blocked that out because the amount of times I've just heard his name screamed by like a preteen, RJ, is a lot. And he handles it so politely and with energy and grace, and he appreciates it. I mean, these are the people that are helping build our business with us. So, yeah, RJ's unbelievable, and he gets the crowd. I mean, he went in Denver. He went into the stands to give away a helmet, and immediately we were like, this might have been a bad idea. I mean, it was like a swarm of kids just reaching at him, and thank God he's tall, he's holding it up. And I'm like, RJ, probably didn't think this one through. Like, it can all get to you now. But he's got such great positive energy that, the kids feed off of that and they love it.
I have a question. Do you know how I ended up on this podcast?
I do not know.
It is because of RJ.
Okay.
2021, Boston. I was sitting front row. He walks by and I'm like, yo, like, can you get me something for my man cave? And he just walks away. Doesn't say a word to me. I was like, okay, that went great.
Awesome.
And he swings back around maybe like 20 minutes later holding a broken stick. And I'm like, no, he's not going to come bring that to me. And he walks over, he hands it to me, puts me all over the vlog. It gets posted everywhere. He sees it and he goes, yo, want to come on this whole thing. And here we are 4 years later, and I'm still kicking it with him.
Fan for life. I love it. Yep.
I think RJ is definitely very special. I
He's
would
very
vote for
special.
RJ to be president.
Okay. I can get behind that.
To go back on Philly too, real quick, how cool is it for you being a Princeton alum, being from Philadelphia, and now seeing the face of Philadelphia's team be a Princeton guy? Obviously finished his career at Duke, but Princeton Michael Sowers was something to behold. How cool is it to see the hometown kid who also is an alumni of the same school you went to, representing Philadelphia on the biggest stage for lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you couldn't script it better. The kids in Philly everywhere, but Michael is such a good representation of Philly and Princeton, and I think that it's sort of when that all aligns, it's pretty magical. And to have him to be the Philly boy for the Philly team is perfect. I mean, you literally couldn't script it better. So I love that he's on the Water Dogs and gets to represent our home city every weekend.
Was it a pinch me moment when Jason Kelsey was at Street Lacrosse last year?
It was very much so. And it was a play it cool moment. I was, I kept a distance because I didn't want to you don't want to interject if you're not meant to interject. And he was the coolest guy. Came, shot balls with Paul, talked to people. Talk about a representation for a city. It doesn't come better than Jason and Kylie Kelsey. So that was Street Lacrosse has brought a lot of those cool moments, but definitely as a Philly person, seeing Jason there was probably top.
And then on top of that, he does a Monday Night Football interview with Jalen Hurts wearing the Street Lacrosse jersey.
Unbelievable. I know. That was unbelievable. We saw that. We're like, wow, that was great. That worked out. Yeah, he loves lacrosse. I mean, it's like, and he respects it. And I think, having that sort of organic interest and him like genuinely loving the game and supporting us in that way is pretty cool.
And how fascinating is it for you, on a game weekend, like any given weekend, any given city, there's some sort of celebrity, big time athlete from a major four sport that is like willingly there, wants to take it in, loves the sport, loves the league. How cool is that for you to see that week in and week out pretty much on a given season?
That crossover is so special. And that's RJ, right? Building those relationships and those guys come and have a great time and they want to come back. It's fun to watch PLL. So, but when you see some of the big names come and be on that president's row and on the sideline, it is really neat to see that they're willing, it's hard to be a pro athlete. Their time is very valuable and limited. So to have them come and spend game weekends with us, it is pretty cool. And I think we're just going to continue to see more and more of that as time goes on.
Last one for me. What are you most excited about the playoffs? Teams that are in. What's the energy and the vibe about this year's playoff road to New York?
I mean, this year particularly, we have no idea. None of us have any idea who's going to win the championship this year. And years past, you had a sense of like, okay, there's teams. Obviously the Outlaws and the Alice are really good. Having two of them like leading their conference, having great seasons, but other teams have shown greatness that any given Sunday, any given Saturday night for us, they can win. So I think the unknown piece to me is so exciting because I do think we'll have some upsets potentially. And I also think this is where the stars come out. This is where people's careers are like cemented. And I'm excited to see the guys do their thing and who's going to be the one that hits that game-winning goal or makes that game-winning save. We've seen Dobson do it. We've seen Tom Schreiber do it. We've seen Matt Rambo do it. Like those iconic moments, like that is all ahead of us. And I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Plus it's a brand new champion.
It's going to be a brand new champion. Yes. Which is really interesting. I think, obviously cannons and archers being eliminated is tough. And maybe I don't know what the preseason predictions were. I don't get involved in all of that. But it is going to be interesting because it's up for grabs. There will be no three-peat. So I know these guys are going to compete like hell for it. And they're going to leave nothing on the table. And I'm excited to see, what comes in Minnie and Philly and then New Jersey.
Well, do you have any predictions about any end of the season awards, or I guess, and which teams or team are you most excited to see for Champ Series out of the four that?
Oh, interesting. I love them all the same. But I'm excited for the Chaos. They were the last team they were the only team that's never been in Champ Series. So I'm excited for them. And it really was important to them. They were, it was part of the dialogue. We want to make Champ Series, which I think is is great. So I'm excited to see them in. And I think the Atlas have fallen short, by this much in Champ Series a couple times. So are they going to get over that hump in Champ Series? I don't, TBD. But I'm excited for all of them. I think that's one of the hardest parts of my job is that we have 8 teams who we care about and the people on it. And, I want them all to win. And obviously only one team can win. So, and I'm always thrilled for whoever it is. But it is heartbreaking to watch what is a guy's last time on the lacrosse field. It's one of the hardest things when someone's going to retire and they lose and you just see that look and that moment with their teammates. And it's because they love the game so much. But this part of the year it pulls on me a little bit because I know some guys, this is the last time they're going to play lacrosse, which is obviously very devastating. But on the flip side, crowning a champion is very, very cool as well.
Rachel, we are stoked for the playoffs. Can't wait to see how it all gets kicked off in Minnesota, then to Philly. And I love that you said New Jersey because it's New Jersey, even though it's a New York team's stadium. But cannot thank you enough for coming on. This was an absolute blast. And we will see you in Philly.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you in about 2 weeks in Philly.
Big thank you to Rachael DeCecco for coming on the pod this week. Hopefully it's not the last time because I feel like she's got a whole hell of a lot more stories and just behind the scenes stuff to deliver. And I'm beyond thankful for the relationship that we've been able to build with her over the years. And like I mentioned, when we were talking with her, she came onto my radar when the WPLL existed in 2019. That's the first time I saw Rachel's name. And from there, we have just built an awesome relationship with her, and she's been wildly supportive of everything we do. So can't thank her enough for giving us the time and just all of her continued support over the years. And I know that'll only just continue to go from here. Plus she dropped a Go Birds, so that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, she was great, giving us all the time she had and her answers. I loved poking her brain, as I love poking everyone's brain. But more importantly with her, because it was fun seeing her work the mental gymnastics of her job and knowing what she can and can't say. But she was phenomenal at it and getting to answer the question and give us some kind of answer and relief that was usable, but doesn't necessarily put her in any kind of position.
Mm-hmm. And she was it was so insightful too, even with some of the stuff that we asked, of her bouncing around it, even the answers with that was so insightful and gave us so much context on where things can be going. And it gets you super excited about the future of the PLL and knowing that Rachael is a huge, massive part of what goes on the field, along with what comes with that off the field. The league is in good hands so long as Rachael DeCecco is around. So shout out to a Philly legend for hopping on the show with us this week. And Rachel's interview was also brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, there's no better way to rep your favorite lacrosse player's favorite lacrosse podcast than with official Outside the Box podcast merch. T-shirts, hoodies, all available on PHI Apparel Company's website. Go to phiapparel.co, and when you go to checkout, use code Underground for 10% off your next merch order from our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company, and stand out in the crowd with the official merch partner of OTB and Underground Sports Philadelphia. Again, code Underground at checkout for 10% off at phiapparel.co. DJ, any final thoughts before we get the heck up on out of here? Because we're the only people that could turn a PLL bye week into a 2.5 hour plus podcast.
Enjoy this week off because next week's going to be crazy. Then we get another week off. But roll the woods because we're excited that they're in the playoffs and Champ Series.
Yeah, enjoy the week off. Kind of just like take it easy, relax. Do a little back to school shopping for all the kids out there. #kids show. I'm gonna try my damnedest to get my ass to the beach again because the beach is calling my name. But yeah, it's crazy that the playoffs are here. It's grind time, as the kids say. And we're off this week from travel, but then Philly and then North Jersey. And I love that Rachel called it New Jersey and not New York. That's what real people do. That's the real ones right there. But very excited for the PLL postseason. It's going to be a doozy of a time. And the only thing that sucks about it is that it's another PLL season close to ending. But that also means we're that much closer to another PLL season starting. So we will be back next week, hopefully with another guest working on some bookings there. Tag your favorite lacrosse players who you want to see on the show going into next week. And we'll try our damnedest to get them on. Be sure to follow us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Deej at SCS_NextGreat on Twitter. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media across the board. Follow me at KBIZZL311 on Instagram. And follow our newest teammate, Jack Knight, who is joining the OTB squad. He is an incoming freshman at Syracuse University. I know Brian's doing backflips right now that we have Syracuse representation now as part of our squad. Jack slid in our DMs and was like, hey, is there any way that I can get involved with the show? Love what you guys are doing. And Jack's an incoming freshman in college at Syracuse, historic lacrosse program. Obviously he's going in and getting the final year of Joey Spallina, our guy. And I just think there's a lot of opportunity for him. I think he brings a unique perspective, a new age demo for us, #kids show. And if you guys get the OTB channel to 100 subscribers, he's going to be a massive part of the college show. Going to be doing a lot of ACC stuff, a lot of Syracuse stuff, helping Deej and Hoots out on that front as Deej goes to war with University of Michigan week in and week out. He doesn't have to worry about the ACC because Jackie Knight will be covering it for him. But follow Jack on social. It's across the board. Jack_on_sports. I'm excited to have him on board. You know, we've had a lot of teammates on this show over the years, but whenever we get an opportunity to work with somebody new that we feel like fits our culture and fits what we do, it's always exciting. And we're pumped to have Jack on board. And he's got an elite name. Jack Knight is just, I'm ready to fucking watch Game of Thrones with the kid.
I mean that, and then his social names, like I was like, oh yeah, this guy is USP coded. Like
yes,
he was made for us. So
yes,
you will, as Money Long would say, made for me. So you definitely have nothing but open arms here. Excited for the work that's gonna get done. Y'all need to hurry up and get that OTB page to 100 subscribers already, so we can
40 away.
Really start doing.
He needs to start game planning.
Man, listen, I'm about to game plan how to not be Unk. That's what's first on the game plan.
You've heard of Cool in the Gang. It's Deej and the kids.
Yeah, man. Hey, chill.
Deej and the daycare.
No.
You've heard of Daddy Daycare. It's Deej's daycare.
Absolutely not. Hey, by the way, Hoots, he's calling you a kid. So, I mean...
Hoots didn't understand a Hey Arnold reference, so I think that's warranted.
Yeah, you're right. Shit. I'm old.
Hey, man.
This is still new for me.
That birthday's rolling up real quick. I'm not far behind.
You already old though.
Yeah, I've been old.
Different.
Yeah, I was old in my 20s though. Once I hit 30, it felt like I got a new respect from the world. It was a phenomenal feeling.
Hopefully I feel that way when I hit 30.
It's a new lease on life. Genuinely, like turning 30 was like one of the greatest things that ever happened to me.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that.
It was a remember in Yu-Gi-Oh, like the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, when the Pharaoh would do like the fucking mind crush shit and like just changed Kaiba. I felt like turning 30 fucking mind crushed me from all of the stress and anxiety of my 20s. It gave me new stress and anxiety, but it gave me a new perspective on life. And it's like, yeah, this fucking rocks. And everyone, that was OTB life advice with KB and Deej.
I ain't really give none.
Next up on the station, Dr. Drew.
I'm screaming. Dr. Drew's crazy. At least it ain't one of them TV preachers you wake up to in the middle of the night.
Fucking Joel Osteen.
Just yelling at you.
It's just that one from
the Bible.
It's that one from the me. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Oh my God. Follow us on the socials at OTB Lax Pod. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. And this has been episode number 388, a Rachael DeCecco featured episode of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, viewable on YouTube, and we're recording on Play Lax Day. Shout out to everybody who submitted their videos. Definitely go check out my beautiful artsy interpretation of Jared Newman's fastest shot when he went 121 of the Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network. For Rachael DeCecco, for Deej, I'm KB. We'll catch you here next week, gearing up for the PLL postseason. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, everyone. Peace.
Peace.